It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
It's the most exciting sport on earth as far as I'm concerned.
Take a walk through the Nitro pits as we go one-on-one with the stars of drag racing.
Hi, I'm Courtney Forrest.
I'm Tony Schumacher.
Hey, you're with Matt Hagan.
This is Ron Capps, Matt Hagan's personal friend. You're on WFO.
Featuring the NHRA's Alan Reinhart.
Our events are truly an experience. They're not just a spectator event. They are an experience.
So get in, sit down, and hold on with host Joe Castello as he goes WFO.
Thanks, brother. Always love being on WFO, baby. Nobody brings it to you better than you, brother.
Now crank it up. It's time to go WFO. Here's your host, Joe Castello.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to WFO Radio NHRA Nitro. The NHRA Countdown is upon us, and the Dodge Nationals are this weekend up there in Maple Grove, Pennsylvania. We've got great guests, all kinds of guests. Fantastic show. But first, I want to speak to all the folks on the East Coast. Obviously, this hurricane is bearing down, and being from South Florida, this is something that I've been through just a year ago. Hurricane Irma, when we got back from the U.S. Nationals. Take it seriously, ride it out, be careful even after the storm. If you're out in the West, the Midwest, far away from the storm, obviously you guys have your own situations, whether it be tornadoes or earthquakes or typhoons, whatever it is. Everybody knows that when natural disaster is bearing down on you, it is a horrible feeling. And all of you folks, we are thinking about you. We are thinking about you. Please listen and obey all the officials in your area, and we're thinking about you. That is what I will say. And this show, maybe it is entertainment for you while you're sitting around bored, hunkered down. But it's probably a bad idea to use your cell phone battery for this. Just saying. Just saying. Maybe save it for later after you've got it all going on. Who's going to be on the show? Matt Hagan's going to be on the show. Runner-up at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. Dodge driver, Dodge Nationals. Matt Hagan going to talk about the new body and do they have it figured out? And Dickie Venables and what's what with the countdown. Does he have a shot to win? That's what we're talking about. Also on the show, three-time Top Fuel champion Antron Brown. AB. Caught up with AB a little bit earlier this week. If you follow the WFO feed and you're a subscriber, you might have noticed that we had the exclusive audio with Antron Brown available on Monday morning. And the reason is he was at the IMTS trade show with the folks at Hangstifers. And we wanted to make sure all of our listeners knew where to go, where to see Antron, what he was going to be doing. But we also talked a lot about the countdown and that team's readiness. And so we will re-air that audio as part of NHRA Nitro. It is fresh. You haven't all heard it. And it's Antron. It's very entertaining regardless. Rick Jones, crew chief for Erica Enders from Elite Motorsports, going to be on the show. And Rick I love the guy. He's a very positive character. Rick and Ricky do a great job, and we always chit-chat out there on the starting line, and I think he is a perfect person to have on the show to talk about the countdown in Pro Stock and what he thinks. Erica, going into the countdown, has got a very legit shot to win another championship. It's going to be a battle royal in Pro Stock. Going to be amazing. Also on the show, Matt Smith. Pro Stock motorcycle. He's had one of the quickest bikes on the property the past couple of weeks. Just has that bog problem. Is he working it out? What's the story? Matt Smith headed to the Grove. We're going to speak with Matt Smith on WFO Radio. And one look back at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals with Stevie Fast. That's right. Steve Jackson is on this show. And, maybe we're going to get a whole bunch of new listeners that just want to hear Stevie Fast, or maybe not. But we've got a U.S. Nationals winning Pro Mod racer that's going to tell his story, and I'm telling you, you're going to love it. Stevie Fast Jackson, U.S. Nationals winner on WFO Radio. All that coming up on the show, so stick around. But the show is brought to you by sponsors. We have some great sponsors here on the show, and I want you to know exactly who they are, like the folks at Hangstifers.com. Hangstifers metalworking lubricants, and anybody that's got a shop and follows the sport of drag racing and motorsports knows that Hangstifers is on the side of many of the top teams because they use it in the shop. And what we're talking about, whether it be the new Don Schumacher manufacturing block that they're making at DSR, they're using Hangstifer's metalworking lubricants on it. CatSpotLitter.com, Scott Palmer made the countdown, and he's going to try to get up as high as he possibly can. And you never know, with a win in the Grove, he could be on his way to a championship. If you've got a cat, CatSpotLitter.com. If you've got oil spills in your garage, Magic Dry. They are a big sponsor of WFO Radio. HusseyPerformance.net. David Allen and the team over there, also in Pennsylvania. We're coming to their part of town. The most accurate copper head gaskets on the market. HusseyPerformance.net. AerospaceComponents.com. High-quality components made in America for over 30 years. We're talking brakes, we're talking pedals, vacuum pumps, anything you can imagine for your car. They do it high-quality. CNC, AerospaceComponents.com. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. The Dragster Adventure at FrankHawley.com. Great gift for the holidays. It's not too soon to start thinking about that. Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. Marvin Rodak. Gourmet coffee, hot sauce, spice rub, everything good that's Rodak's. Speaking of your holiday gifts, that just covers a whole bunch of people. Send them some coffee, hot sauce, and spice rub. They'll be happy all the way to June. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, samtech.edu. Start your education at full speed. Learn how to become a CNC machinist. Maybe go to work at Aerospace Components. You like that? Or become a high-performance engine builder. Who knows? The folks at samtech.edu supporting WFO Radio for a while now, and we greatly appreciate it. It has been fantastic to work with the folks at samtech.edu. And then motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan, his new venture, Motorsports Guys. You can get a hat free at checkout by using the promo code WFO. It is the Terry McMillan Vegas Tribute hat, which I got to tell you is now it's one of two different wins. But if you get your oil for your oil change, they got filters, they got everything, motorsportsguys.com. Just go to the site. Just check out the site. Look at the site. And you'll see exactly what we're talking about. These folks helping us out on WFO Radio and announcing a new sponsor, audible.com/WFO Nitro. That's right. Unlike a streaming or rental service, with Audible, you own your own books. There's a great listen guarantee. If you didn't like it, you can swap it. Audible.com/WFO Nitro. Very, very cool. We'll be telling you about some of these later on in the show. But now it is on with this show. Joining us now, he'll be calling the action this weekend as we get ready for the NHRA Countdown at Maple Grove with the Dodge NHRA Nationals. Alan Reinhart joins us now. Alan, welcome back.
Hey, Joe, great to be back. Are you fully recuperated from the U.S. Nationals yet?
Oh, not only that, I recuperated and then caught a cold and then got sick, and I'm recuperated from that. So I've double recuperated.
Oh, okay. Well, you're all over it then.
Yeah, exactly. I got it out of the way before the Dodge Nationals. I'm going to be in tip-top condition for the weekend. I actually timed my illness out very, very well.
Good plan.
Yeah. Headed to Maple Grove, Dodge NHRA Nationals, changing the schedule. And we've got a big hurricane out there, Alan. Of course, we are concerned about our friends and listeners and racers and fellow Americans, and hopefully they're battening down the hatches. Good thing we don't have a race there this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's some mandatory evacuation orders down in the Carolinas, and they're talking about the biggest storm to hit down there in 60 years or so. So I hope everybody is heeding the warning. You know, that you get some natural disasters you don't get warning for, and when you know something's coming, then hopefully everybody's had enough advance notice that you can get things buttoned up and gather your friends, your family, and your animals and just get out of the way.
That's it. And this is prime hurricane season. 1 year ago, we were dealing with it. When I got back from the U.S. Nationals, you may recall, I went into immediate Cat 5 hurricane preparedness here in South Florida. We were fortunate that it did not hit, but hopefully everybody obeys. If anybody that is listening and out there is in that area, do not question. If they say evacuate, evacuate. Do what you got to do, and anything material can be replaced.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Just get out with your loved ones, and then worry about the rest of it later. That's why you've been paying those insurance premiums all these years.
That is exactly correct. Now, that having all been said, we do this very often. There's something big and obviously very important going on. But the race is on the schedule. We're going to the race. It's the first race of the countdown, Maple Grove, Pennsylvania. Al Roker just told me personally, along with everybody else, that there's a high-pressure area that's going to hold the rain south in the Carolinas, which is bad. They're going to get a lot of rain. But my initial thought was it was going to continue northward. And Al Roker says that's not going to happen. Regardless, I'm hoping for good weather so we can get out there and enjoy the Grove and see the first race of the Countdown on a race that, from what I understand, Maple Grove was always 2 weeks after Indy for many, many years and is now back to that case.
Yeah, they shuffled it around a little bit a year or so ago and then made some changes to the schedule again this year. So back in a more traditional place. And, usually this time of the year it's starting to cool off a little bit up there, and that means performances will be good. The racing surface obviously will take about anything you can throw at it. Just look at all the records that have been set there over the years. And I know a lot of the teams are really, literally chomping at the bit, ready to go for the Countdown. Been a long regular season of preparedness, and you better have your ducks lined up now or else.
Yeah, exactly. And then the debate of countdown or no countdown, it comes up from time to time. I'm probably the guy who brings it up more often than others because I love it. I love that every one of these teams, from Steve Torrence at the top to Scott Palmer at the bottom, they are all waking up today with dreams of winning a championship and planning and strategizing to be their very best over the same 6-race period, and they'll have to prove it to be the champion.
Well, I think nobody's on a mission quite like Steve Torrence right now. They really feel like they let one get away last year, and whether it was the crash in Dallas or the circumstances, but they feel like that was their championship, and as I said, they let it get away. So they came in this year with a very clearly stated mission that they're here for one reason and only, and that's to win the championship. And they didn't spend a lot of time experimenting or goofing off or throwing away races in the regular season. They've been in championship form, basically since first qualifying run out in Pomona. So now it's time. You've spent an entire year thinking that you let one get away from you, and now it's time to go out there and get it. And I don't think there's any question how good their car's running right now. There are certainly some others that are in the same neighborhood, but I really believe, based on the performance of the regular season, that it is Steve Torrance's championship to lose.
Wow. That is a big statement. And at the same time, I think about others that are having career years. Clay Millican, this is a career season, second in the point standings. Haven't really been running that great as of late, but who knows what they've been working on. The reemergence of Antron Brown and what they have been able to do. Antron's going to be on the show, incidentally. Just thinking about that. Terry McMillan having a career season. Thinking about a guy like Mike Salinas. Salinas, that car has been so good. Is he really going to go on and win the championship over 6 races? I don't know. But let alone Tony Schumacher, Leah Pritchett, Doug Coletta. There are the defending champion Brittany Force. If Steve does it, it will be over a very worthy field.
I agree with that 100%. And, the other unknown thing is, who has been experimenting. Alan Johnson is notorious for, okay, when it's time to go, it's time to go. And, that he never gets down about, oh, well, you guys didn't have a great Western swing. Then, well, so what? Call me when it's championship time. And so what that car does, especially coming out of the blocks, if it, runs well this weekend, we start with 2 straight. We can here and then St. Louis next week. And I also think that that Tony Schumacher might be a little bit of an unknown. I think I'm kind of surprised that they haven't won more races this year than what they did. Car's been running well, but I also know that at the Indy test session, they literally only made a couple of runs. Mike and Phil Schuler seem like they're very confident in their program, so they didn't feel like there was a lot of stuff that they were missing, a lot of stuff they needed to work on. So I expect that car to make some noise too, but over the course of the season, I don't think there's any question that Steve Torrence has had the best car out there, no matter how you want to measure it. So I really do believe that unless something really bizarre happens, I think it's their championship to lose.
Well, if that were to happen, I think it would be good for the sport and to cement the Capco boys in drag racing history as champions, because they have had just a great run, really the last 3 seasons. Been championship caliber, winning lots of races, doing it their own way, attitude, swagger, personality out there, that whole team thing that they've got going on. But to not win a championship, that would be painful.
Well, Steve was very candid last year, and, they felt like they let one get away, and some of the comments he made, I'm fine with. I want guys to care about it. We've talked about that 100 times. If a guy goes out and loses a race or loses a championship, no big deal. There's another one next year or next week or whatever. That's not the guy I want on my team. I want a guy that gets out of the car and is upset when he loses and is mad when he feels like he should have done better, his team should have done better. And I'm okay with that. But, at this point, you've got another chance to prove yourself, and let's see what you got. And I think what you said about, the team dynamic, the fact that they do have some swagger, that they're not, really buttoned down corporate. They're out there having fun and enjoying themselves, and they really don't have anybody to answer to. The family business is what supports the race operation. So there isn't a sponsor that's going to tell them, hey, tone it down a little bit. We don't want this. We don't want that. They're out there having fun. And I think that's what has gained them a lot of fans, is when you win the race and then you take your air horn and you get on top of the tow vehicle and you go out in the zoo in Brainerd and you celebrate, instead of, going out to have a nice dinner someplace and then just kind of keeping it quiet or keeping it low key. I think that, there's a lot of people out there that see them as, the basic working man, even though obviously a very successful company, but they're just regular guys that are out there racing and winning and still celebrating like they're fans of the sport. And I think that's that's big. I think that's the reason why they have such a strong following.
Oh, they would be a worthy champion. And yes, I think that would kick their fan base into another gear. And it would also drive home, many points that a family that is mostly a single car team, that's not a big super operation, although Billy will be out there, it can do it, that it can be done. And I think that would be something very big. It would be a big statement. Billy Torrance spoke with me out in Indy. We had a conversation about all the pipeliners. Have you had the opportunity to talk with Billy about just the calls he's received from pipeliners, that community? There's TV shows about crab fishermen and stuff, and there's a community that we don't maybe know about in every different region. Apparently, pipeliners are a thing, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of them. They work and they go out in their own lifestyle, society, like they keep up with each other, and that Billy has gotten calls and texts from every one of them.
Well, and I think, again, that's just the normal guy. Billy Torrance started that company 25 years or so ago, I think. And, he made his living as a welder doing pipeline work and then started his own company. So, he's a guy that's been in the trenches, so to speak. He's a guy that's been out there working. He's still a guy that goes out in the field on a pretty regular basis to follow up on, his crews and his staff and what the guys are doing and making sure that his customers are taken care of and that the promises that he makes to the customers are being fulfilled. And I think that, again, that is a lot about, who he is and why he and Steve can relate to those people that are out there working in the field, because he used to be one of them. That's a far cry from a guy who never spent a time doing that kind of, manual labor, that kind of physical work, and doesn't have that connection with some of those people. And I think that's, that's a big reason that everybody's pulling for the Capco boys. Very,
very interesting. Bringing out Billy. Billy is hot, one of the hottest guys out there right now. It'll be very interesting to see. Moving over to Funny Car as we get ready and preview the Mellow Yellow Countdown going on this weekend in Maple Grove. If you're headed that way, the Dodge party at the Reading Stadium has been great the past couple of years. There'll be a home run derby. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be out there after Hardcore Thursday. Funny Car, Courtney Force. I'm interested to hear your... First of all, I really appreciate that you went right to the, this is what I think, who I think is, the favorite to win this. I wonder what you think about Funny Car, where the first half of the season was really dominated by Courtney Force and Brian Karate. But as of late, they have cooled and others have emerged, but no one person has really emerged.
I agree with that. I think that I don't think Funny Car is quite as cut and dry. Courtney certainly has a really good car. J.R. Todd right now has a really good car, not just because he won Indy, but that's a car that's been definitely coming to life the last few races and really making some noise. That one, the Schumacher cars, are going to be there because they always are. I don't know that there's as much of a clear-cut favorite in Funny Car as I feel that there is in Top Fuel, but I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun to watch. And I think the most important thing for the Funny Cars is if you want to win the championship, you better get off on a hot streak. You cannot go to Reading and go out first round and then go to St. Louis next week and go out first round or second round. and still think that you've got a realistic shot of doing it. I think that you've got to go out and you've got to at least go rounds. I'm not saying you got to win both races, but you have got to go rounds the first couple of races if you really want to be considered a contender. And I think we'll know a whole lot better after St. Louis. I believe after St. Louis, we'll be down to 4 cars that are really in contention without having to need a minor miracle to make it happen.
Wow. Interesting thought process. I don't know. I feel like the countdown is totally unpredictable, and we may, you never know what you're going to have. But I would not want to be on the team that lost first round in the first 2 races and had to throw a 4-race win Hail Mary kind of thing. Like that, at that point, you get down.
At that point, I really think you're out of it. And that's one of the reasons that I feel so strongly about Steve Torrence. Those guys don't lose in the first round. It just doesn't happen. They're going to go out there. They're going to go rounds every week. They're going to have a car that's contending for the win. And there's nobody in funny car that jumps to the top. I'd have to go back and look. I have to admit that I haven't sat down and researched all this. But there's nobody in funny car, I think, that can say they've got no first-round losses or 1 first-round loss. Everybody has had that toe stub at some point this season, and that is a huge difference. If you're just constantly winning first round, then you're going to be ahead of the curve all the way across the board.
Very, very cool. Caps and Tobler, the Western Swing, the 5-disc clutch, Jimmy and Robert and Chris. My goodness, of course, they're going to just uncork a bunch of wins. Matt Hagan, going to be on the show, talks about Dickie Venables. They feel like they've got the balance. They made the final round at the U.S. Nationals. Beckman has been good. Tommy Johnson's been good. Sean Langdon has been good. John Force got a win earlier this season, has been going rounds. Wilkerson's got the best car he's had all year long. Top to bottom, I feel like best to worst, maybe, we got Pro Stock coming up. I'm going to have to take it back in a second. But very, very close competition. Brakes and reaction times, driver ability, decision-making, that's what's going to decide the championship.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, get on a hot streak. Get out of the blocks quick. Let's make it happen right now. And that's what you're going to have to do if you want to be a serious contender after we leave St. Louis. And, the first round thing that I was talking about, just something to think about. I don't know that a lot of people even contemplate this. But if you have a Top Fuel team or a funny car team or a Pro Stock team for that matter, if you go to every race and win first round and never win another round, you're going to make the countdown to the championship. That's how important it is to win first round. And if you win first round, then, obviously at some point you're going to get a second round, you're going to get a semifinal, but those first round losses crush you. If you go to the first 18 races of the season and you win first round at all 18 of them, you will make the countdown to the championship. That's how critical first rounds are.
Wow. Nope, that is a big deal, and that is the reason that racers always say that their most hated round and the most gut-wrenching, most nerve-wracking, because losing is the worst. At least you get one win under your belt. You feel like maybe you got a shot.
Well, you also have so much time to think about it. You finish qualifying on Saturday night. You get up Sunday morning. You come out, maybe you go to the track walk. Maybe you go to chapel service. Maybe you just come out and pack your parachutes and get your fuel and get ready. But you've got too much time to think about it. And if you get in the car and win the first round, now you've got such a routine going down. We've got to turn this thing around. We've got to get back up. We're on fast turnaround for TV or whatever. And you don't have time to sit and stew. So once you get that one behind you, then you're into a routine. But there's always the first round that you just have too much time to think about.
Yes, and we've got Stevie Fast Jackson on the show to talk about his U.S. Nationals victory, and that's exactly what he's going to talk about, getting on a roll, getting grooving, starting to feel it, momentum. Drag racing really is a momentum sport. You think about momentum, you think maybe college basketball kind of thing, but it's so true in drag racing as well. You start feeling that confidence, and anything is possible.
That's it. And then, when things start going your way, oftentimes your competitors will start to press a little bit, and that's just another advantage for you going forward. How many times have we seen over the course of years what I call an intimidation win? And it happens a lot in the sportsman ranks where a guy goes up and the whole thought process is, man, I got to be perfect. I got to be perfect. I got to be perfect. And they get out of their normal routine and they make a mistake. David Rampy went in Indy with 4 red lights or 5 red lights against him. That's an intimidation win. The guys that he raced are good racers. They've got good race cars. If they go up there, they look over in the other lane, it's Joe Castello. They're not thinking, I got to be perfect to win, and then go in red. They're thinking, okay, make a solid run. I've got a shot at this. Let's just go do it. But when you get on one of those rolls, then you start winning some of those intimidation rounds, and it just kind of, the snowball builds.
Yes, so true. Moving on to Pro Stock, looking at the list of drivers, looking at him again and thinking about, maybe funny car is the most tightly contested of all the categories. I wonder your opinion as we think about Tanner Gray at the top. He and Greg have been really strong all year long. Tanner snatching away that 20-point lead right at the U.S. Nationals, following a U.S. Nationals victory. Of course, they've got confidence and momentum and all of that. Dave Connolly, just everybody over there. But Greg has been domination just missing. You know, this coming up short here and there, this race by a thou, that race by a thou. But a car that really has been performing top level against everyone. It wouldn't be surprising me if he could win a couple of races right here in the countdown. Erica, we got Rick Jones on the show. Jeg, clearly back this year. Derek Kramer. And then, I don't know. Vincent was good. Drew, Jason, yet to win. Bo, Chris. I don't know. I think the winner is going to come from one of those top 4 drivers.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the case. And for Greg, Greg needs to get his foot in the game, not his head. He needs to get his foot in the game. He's been bit by missing the starting line probably more times than he'd like to talk about. And I'm not saying anything that I think he wouldn't tell you to his face. But you can't go up there and consistently be 35 or 40 and occasionally 65 on the tree and have an expectation of winning, especially if you get into the rounds. If you got Erica in the other lane, if you got Tanner in the other lane, if you got Jeg in the other lane, you're not going to get away with that. When we've seen cases this year where a guy or a girl goes up there and reaction time is 13 and they get beat, you have to get that part of your game in order. And whether it's Greg or whether it's the car that's not reacting fast enough when he lets the pedal out, I think it's become very fascinating over the past probably 3, 4, maybe 5 years to hear pro stock drivers talking about, we changed the pedal, we adjusted this, we set up for the reaction time to be 15, because you never used to hear that. That wasn't even part of the consideration. Adjusting the car was never even considered to be a real part of the reaction time. It was just, you either move your foot on time or you don't. But they, and I believe it started with the elite team, figured something out to make the car react quicker. And that has helped them immensely. And if that's something that, Greg and his team can look at, need to, then, maybe that's what it is. But you're not going to win a championship in the countdown if your reaction time average is 30 or slower. It's just not going to happen. So and I think if you could get Greg consistently 15, 18, 20 on the tree, then I think he's the favorite to win the championship. I really do.
Well, his performance has been fantastic, and as you're talking about this, and John DiBartolomeo going to be on the show later on. We, long depth conversation about the mountain motor cars and all that pro stock, and I know that you love pro stock. Like, I know it. You spent your life in pro stock, and I do too. And I wish more people really got what's going on. But looking at it, Greg, Jason, and Chris McGahey are really the only remaining driver / tuner, engine builder, old school, Grumpy Jenkins, Bob Glidden, Warren Johnson style characters. Whereas Tanner Gray, he's a driver, and Erica's a driver, and Jeg is a driver, and Vincent's a driver, and Derek Kramer's a driver, and Drew's a driver, and Bo is a driver. Whereas those guys are the guys that are building the power, doing the dyno pulls, and also driving the car. And so it's interesting how that has completely turned upside down in pro stock.
Well, it's gotten to the point now, if you have 3 jobs to do and you try to do all 3 of them yourself, or you focus on one and hire 2 specialists to do the other 2, then it seems to me that the second way is going to be a more efficient way of doing things. If you have people that are in the shop that are working on engines that are doing stuff while you're on the road, that's a lot of days. That's 120 or 130 days a year that you could potentially have somebody working in the shop. And in this day and age, when you can get CNC parts and you can get everything you need custom made and overnighted and get it tomorrow, it's just turned into a different dynamic. I can work harder than anybody, which is what made Warren Johnson, which is what made Bob Glidden, is really kind of a thing of the past, because now everybody's got specialists and everybody has access to parts. In the days when Bob Glidden or Warren Johnson would get a set of heads and spend 3 weeks in the grinding room. Now you call Carl Foltz and he sends you a set. And is there still some gain to be had if you take one of them into the grinding room and do some work on it yourself? Yeah, probably. But the reality is that people have access to those parts, and that has kind of opened it up a little bit. So now you need to be able to focus on what you're doing. And if that means you have to hire somebody to do something else, then that's what you have to do. But the whole dynamic of it has changed. And also the fact that there isn't so much the full-time pro stock racers anymore, which is what, Warren and Bob Glidden, that was their entire living. That was all they did, was race pro stock. And so many of the drivers now don't. Drew Skillman couldn't just quit working at the car lot to focus all of his energies on being at the pro stock shop and working on engines and doing that stuff every day, because he pays for pro stock by the family car business. And so he's got to keep concentrating on that. It's just that the whole dynamic of the sport has changed.
Very interesting. No, it's so true. It's so true. And I did not mean to suggest that Jason Line does not have a chance, because he does. The guy's won 3 championships. He's come up close in other ones. Hasn't had a great year, but I would say is at their best they've been all year with the blue car. Maybe a win waiting to happen. Who knows? Coming up short, a couple of close races, but very eager to see pro stock. And I agree in pro stock as well. You got to get out of the hole quick, right? That extends to all categories. You want to get out of the hole quick with a win or a good run.
Well, you simply look at how close all the pro stock cars are in qualifying, and that really puts the focus on everybody's got to do their job to perfection. If the crew chief is worried about something else and misses making the right call on the transmission, misses a gear ratio by 2 points or something, now the car's going to slow down 300s and he can't win the race. And, if the driver's worried about something else, or did we make the right call, or do I have the clutch right, or when he turns the second bulb on the Christmas tree, he's not focused on his job. And that's what makes it so critical, is that the cars are so close together that every member of the team has to be pretty close to perfect. And, the last link in the chain is the driver. The guys are, for the most part, the top teams are making the right calls when it comes to the clutch, when it comes to the transmission, when it comes to what we need to do to make the car run. And then the last link in the chain is the driver getting the thing to move on time. And we've seen that more probably this year than any other in pro stock.
Very, very interesting. Championships will be decided. To me, this is as exciting as it gets. I'm fired up. I love the 6 races. Not too long. It's very, very intense, and I know everybody's going to be feeling it out there. Pro Stock Motorcycle, Eddie at the top, Andrew, Ellie, Hector Jr., Jerry, Matt Smith. Based on what I've seen, the champion is going to come out of those top 6 drivers. We've got Matt Smith on the show. He's going to break it down. But, Ellie as a driver with a crew chief, basically the same operation we were talking about it, he is kind of the outlier, where Eddie, Andrew, they're the factory. Hector Jr. working on their own bike. Matt Smith working on his own bike. Ellie just has to go. GT's on the bike. His dad's helping out, but they got Tim Kalungian, Jerry. They got a team over there, and Ellie has less to worry about.
Well, and Ellie also just doesn't get rattled. And I think it's a little bit of a different dynamic in the pro stock motorcycle world, because except for Eddie, Andrew, and Matt Smith, none of the other guys are doing their own engine work. They may be working on the bike. They may be doing this, the trying to work on tune-up calls and crew chiefing at the racetrack, but they're not in the shop, the ones building the motors. I think that the best motorcycle out there right now might be Matt Smith. And based on the last 2 races, since they put the new bodywork on that thing and the way that it ran in Brainerd and the way that it ran in Indy, but twice he definitely looked like he had the motorcycle to beat, and twice had a starting line issue where the bike just bogged and cost him both of those races. First round at Indy and second round when we were up in Brainerd. But he's got a really good motorcycle right now. Little Hector's had a really good motorcycle all year. Just needs to get some consistency with the thing on race day. And whether it's the driver, whether it's the tune-up, whether it's whatever, something has been missing on race day. I think the Harleys have probably been the most consistent motorcycles on race day. But if I was going to pick 3 that I think are going to be the fight for the championship, my 3 are Eddie, Ellie, and Matt Smith.
Wow. That's very interesting. When we reached out to Matt Smith to have him on the show, I was feeling similar thoughts. They got a very quick and fast motorcycle. He's just got to sort out whatever that issue is that gets him early in the rounds on Elimination Day, where the order...
I'm sorry, Joe. The interesting thing to me is that, they put new bodywork on the motorcycle. They didn't change the engine combination. They didn't change the drivetrain combination. So that's not what's making it bog. And for Matt to have that big of a miss in the tune-up and to do it 2 weeks in a row is really surprising to me. So either something else is going on, that's not a mistake that a guy who's won a couple of championships in as many races as he is going to make, especially not on back-to-back weekends. So if there's something else going on, they definitely need to find it. But I think he's definitely got a bike that's going to be in contention all the way down to the wire.
Very interesting. Matt Smith, Ellie Tonglet, Eddie Krawick. And Eddie is going to be tough. Eddie is as tough as they get. So is Andrew, though. And that's why we run these races. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch the Dodge NHRA Nationals this weekend. Are you calling the Home Run Derby at the block party?
I'm planning on it. I've done it the last couple of years.
That is a fun little deal. Now, the Golden Block Party has got like 17 years of built-up equity and is fantastic and wide open spaces and mountains in Colorado and all of that. This is different. It's in a minor league baseball stadium, but it's beautiful. And it's only, I think, 3 years in. You correct me if I'm wrong, but they have already built a fantastic pre-race social event.
Yeah, they have a very strong following out there. If the first year when the weather was a little bit iffy, that certainly hurts because who wants to go stand in the rain on a chilly evening, even to get, NHRA star autographs. And last year was considerably better. The weather was good. They had, of course, live music, the car show that basically just wraps around the entire stadium with a lot of custom street rods and hot rods that are going to be out there on display. It's definitely a fun time. And if anybody's coming to Reading, it's Thursday night. It's First Energy Field, and all of the Dodge drivers are going to be there, and it'll be fun. It's a social event. They'll have music and some giveaways and autograph sessions, and just it's fun. Come out and it's a great way to kick off the weekend. Go watch some of the sportsman cars make their hits on Thursday, and then come on out to the ballpark.
Absolutely, and we got to talk about the Bader experience in that. Reading has always been Reading in that it's tucked into this wonderful little, cute little area where you got to take these serpentine winding roads to find it. There can't possibly be a track in there, but then there is. And it's always had that old school feel, Mike Lewis and the family for many, many years. But now from what I understand, the Bader family, for, whom we know as great promoters, cutting-edge thinkers, willing to invest, to make things better, to make things as good as they can possibly be, and maybe even better than people considered they could be, have now taken over the track. And so I'm excited to see, what's different, what's new, and what's being planned for the future.
I am as well. Bill Bader is a guy, as you said, that he focuses very much on the fan experience. And he wants to make sure that if people come to one of his events, that they get more than what they expected, that they get more than what they paid for, and that they leave going, wow, that was really something. Not necessarily just, wow, that was a great race, but wow, that was a great experience. We always have had great racing at Maple Grove. Just give us good weather, and the racetrack and the teams will take care of the rest of it. But I'm interested as you are to see, what the Baders being involved, what's going to change, what's going to be different. I know that, they're going to have, I believe, 4 jet cars on Friday night, which will be a lot of smoke and thunder to kind of close out the qualifying show there. We're planning on doing the primetime experience again on Friday night. Of course, weather and schedule permitting. A lot of live TVs coming out of there, so it should be a fun one. Yes,
the primetime experience with the music and everything. I went back and viewed our Indy attempt, and I was entertained on NHRA All Access. It was a lot of fun. And, as it gets further evolved, it'll get better and better. But it's a rockin' Friday night. Going to be a lot of fun.
I sure hope so. Give us good weather. We'll take it from there.
Simple as that. And, of course, our thoughts will be on the folks down there in North and South Carolina. Alan, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. I will see you in a couple of days for the first race of the NHRA Countdown.
Looking forward to it, Joe. Travel safe.
There he goes, the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week on WFO Radio. And I love it. We got Matt Hagan, Rick Jones, Antron Brown, Stevie Fast, Matt Smith, all on the show, all coming up, all with a great story. Just tremendous stuff. You're going to love it as we get ready for the Dodge Nationals. And yes, the big block party Thursday night. It's going to be mega. Hopefully everybody goes out there and enjoys and has fun. Matt Hagan is next, but right now I want to tell you about audible.com/WFO Nitro. As podcasts and podcasters, we are talking to people who like to listen, and audiobooks are a great sidekick for summer activities like hiking and sunbathing and sitting on the beach, running, road tripping, all of that stuff. Listening is a better way to binge content you love than anything else. You're doing stuff you love while listening to stuff you love. And Audible has the largest selection of audiobooks on the planet, which lets you fill your summer with more stories. Like whatever you're watching, you're reading, you're checking out, whichever book it may be. Audible helps you listen to more books by letting you switch seamlessly between devices, picking up exactly where you left off. Whether it's on your phone, through your car, from a tablet, or at home on your Amazon Echo, you can get through tons of books, eyes and hands free, like in the car, which is where it works for me, or sitting on a plane, which is where it works for me. Your books are yours to keep. With Audible, you can go back and re-listen at any time. Audible.com/WFO Nitro. Go to it, check it out, and it's right up your alley. You've been listening to WFO Radio this whole time. Why not check out your next book? Audible.com/WFO Nitro, all lowercase, and you can start listening to your favorite books. And big thanks to Audible for coming on as a sponsor of WFO Radio. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Matt Hagan after this.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Joe Castello. When I'm at the racetrack, I am always checking out the cars to see what's hot, what's cool, what is the nicest and best and most effective part piece out there. And what I am finding is that the folks at Aerospace Components have got it going on. They've been in business for over 30 years. Everything is made in America, and they are family-owned and operated. Aerospace Components is a name known throughout the racing industry as one of the leaders in manufacturing high-performance drag racing products. Their Tampa Bay area facility is equipped with state-of-the-art CNC machining centers and inspection equipment. You got to get it right. They get it right. They have racers all over the country that run their brakes, shifters, vacuum pumps, water pumps. They do so many different things. And if you go to their website right now, Aerospace Components, you can check out exactly what I'm talking about. And if you want your front brake calipers in pink or aqua or green, they can do that too. Check it out. That's aerospacecomponents.com. Check out the website and let them know you heard it on WFO. Hey, this is Joe Castello, and we'll be back to the show in a second. But first, I want to tell you about CompetitionPlus.com. There's a reason CompetitionPlus.com is the leader among drag racing electronic magazines. Their trained staff is always on alert and always asking the tough questions. The end result is hard-hitting drag racing journalism with up-to-the-minute reporting. For over a decade, CompetitionPlus.com has been a pioneer as drag racing's go-to source for the latest in news, race coverage, and high-quality photography. Their trained staff thrives on getting the inside stories, and their columnists study their topics before they hit their first keystroke. When it comes to covering the races, they leave you feeling as if you've actually been to the race. CompetitionPlus.com is an honest-to-goodness, free drag racing magazine published by the most passionate of drag racing fans, who just happen to be journalists. Don't wonder what's going on in the drag racing world. Be in the know daily. Log on to CompetitionPlus.com. CatSpotLitter.com. Got to check them out. And, of course, think about getting a cat. There's so many little kitties out there that need a home. They need a home. But it's the litter. No, now you've got CatSpotLitter.com. So check it out. Cat Spot Litter, new supporter of WFO Radio.
What is this? This is WFO Radio.
You are Matt Hagan out, head to toe, diehard Matt Hagan.
Well, I needed a hero, but I just couldn't find one that met my standards, that I thought had it all. everything about him. Plus, he's the most handsome man I've ever seen in my life.
Matt Hagan, Shirley Muldowney approved.
Hi, this is Matt Hagan. You're listening to WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Welcome back to NHRA Nitro. I'm super stoked about the countdown. I know all of you are as well. This has been a great regular season, and now it's time for the playoffs. And just like in every other playoff, there will be heartbreak. There will be surprise. We do not know exactly what will happen, and that the unpredictability of it is what makes it so cool. We've got Matt Hagan coming up next, but first I want to tell you about Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. Marvin Rodak. Got all kinds of great blends like Funny Car Chaos. That's a great blend. I tell you about it on a pretty regular basis. Purpose blended for drag racers and avid racing fans. A perfectly balanced, smooth coffee with great body, hints of sweet chocolate nuts, plus the brightness of muted berries and the nurtured finesse of a long smoky burnout with a little lingering clutch dust. And that whole thing, blending the coffee with the drag racing, that's Marvin's deal. You got to check it out. Give him a call. Hot sauces, spice rubs. What I'm really trying to do is get ahead of the holidays for all you folks. The Marvin Rodak Holiday Pack is a great gift. It's got an aroma. People love it. It's at the holidays. You get in the coffee, the hot sauce, the spice rub. You can affect all their meals. 817-924-6821. You can get the Coffee Club subscription, but I'm telling you, ask Marvin about the holiday packs. 817-924-6821 for Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com. Dodge Nationals this weekend. Time to talk funny car. Joining us now, he will be starting from the second position in the funny car category as the NHRA Mellow Yellow Series countdown begins. Just 20 points behind Courtney Force. Matt Hagan joins us now, getting ready for the Dodge Nationals. Matt, welcome back. Here we go.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me on the show, man. It's always a pleasure. You always ask some good questions, man. So it's always interesting to kind of see what you come up with and listen to your show and definitely kind of take it all in sometimes, but it's good to be on the show, brother.
That's great. All right, good question number one. There's the big block party this week, something really cool as they've emulated what goes on in Golden, Colorado, in Reading, Pennsylvania. There is a home run derby. You are a big muscle man. How can you let a guy like Dave Reef beat you?
Brother, it's about technique. I'm telling you, I've learned that the hard way. A couple of years trying to kill it, and truly, it's just it's about form and technique, and obviously I don't have that, so I got to work on that. Maybe get in the cage a little bit and hit a few more balls,
Yeah, well, it's slow pitch. That's another thing too, right? It's like kind of a slow pitch deal, which is about timing, as you said, not about strength.
Well,
all right.
Like my golf game, like it's awful too. I think it's just being bigger. You just try to kill everything, and you got to get that mentality to just kind of slow it down. It's like when you get a 80-year-old guy that outdrives you, you're like, well, something's wrong, So.
Well, there it is. That's the only 80-year-old guy that's out driving Matt Hagan. Well, maybe the Greek. You never know on one of those days.
There you go.
But let's get into the countdown, obviously. We're all going to be at the block party. It's a lot of fun. It's a very cool thing up there in Reading. But,
it obviously is, Joe. I mean, obviously, the block party, just to touch on it real quick, for those that haven't been out there, obviously it's free. They have the simulators there with the demons. They have, like a small midway, so to speak. And then, you have all these drivers there that we're going to be there to sign and obviously, take some time with our fans. And it's just done up right, man. Like it's a free, cool event. And they do, last year they did some auctions. I don't know if they're going to this year or not, but there's like huge amount of fireworks. There's food, there's beer, there's, you name it. It's there, and it's just a cool experience to kind of interact with our fans and get to them come over and be one-on-one with us outside of the racing environment. And, just kind of ask us questions, get to hang out with us, get to just do some cool stuff,
Oh, yeah. No, to me, the races that have some sort of social gathering before the race where everyone can hang out, you see all the drivers kind of just hanging out there with their fams, just, having fun, like lighthearted, having fun. Those are the best races. You think about Denver. That's one. Everybody goes to the block party. We had a good thing we did over there. You and Leah racing each other in the Demon simulators. Like it just makes it I don't know, a little more fun and kind of the calm before the storm that is the countdown in this case.
Yeah, man, this countdown is something else. It changes everything, Joe. I mean, the countdown is like I said, the game changer because, I've been able to win them from like the 6 and 7 spot, and you think, man, you roll in there, you're like, man, we're so far behind. But, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where you're at in there. You just have to, get it turned on and get hot there at the end, and you could, just dominate all year long, and then, like Caps did the other year, and then just those last 6 races, you just don't hit it, man, and you're not the champion, So it's anybody's ball game now, and it's huge that we roll in number 2. I don't know the statistics from the stat guy, Lewis Bloom. He said no one has ever won since the countdown started from the number 1 spot. So I'm glad we're not in there at 1, but we'll take 2 for sure.
That is a great stat.
Go ahead.
That's a great stat. Like to think about that number 1, I don't want to say it's meaningless, but there's something to the strategy of how you play this. And so then my question is, you got a new body that you guys, I feel like, are now adapted to. You tell me about that. You also have Dickie Venables, who knows how to go through this process. There has to be a plan, it would seem, from past results. You can't just kind of go in and do the same thing that you've always done. It seems like you have to save something. You have to prep for this. You've got to be ready for this 6-race run.
Yeah, I'm going to be as honest as I can be. We were lost here for a little while, and we kind of got into Indy a little bit, getting lucky with a few rounds here and there, and then Dickie kind of figuring out what we needed to do and how the car needed to be run. It just, unfortunately, these things, like these cars, you can't just put them back to what they used to be or whatever. People ask all the time, like, well, you just won this race. Why don't you put it like that, and run it like that? And, it just doesn't happen that way. You have, anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 worth of parts that cycle in and cycle out of these cars every lap. And, so you think about different metals, different materials, different way that things are heated, different things that, just the way things are made, and they're just never the same. So you never get that, okay, I'm going to plug and play. You might for a couple runs or whatever, but then you cycle through, a batch of this or a batch of that, and you're into some new material and different things like that. So there's never that, okay, we're just going to drag it up here and we know what it's going to run kind of thing. So there's always that adapting to these top fuel cars, to these fuel funny cars. You're never going to get that back-to-back stuff all the time like you would like maybe a factory stock car with Mopar and different things like that, because the parts aren't the same. So, it's always evolving. It's always changing. And, when people go like, hey, let's just, we know how to make it run this. Well, cool, you might, but you might not really, you know what I mean? So for us, we've had some stuff really change throughout our program, and we've been trying to find that, how to get, how to run the car, how to do some different things. And Indy was huge for us. I mean, be able to make those 4 runs on Sunday and figure some stuff out. And we kind of went in on Sunday morning going, I don't know, and which is fine. We've been there before, and that's why you have a guy like Dickie Venables in your corner that is super smart, and that you have the confidence in him that he's going to figure it out. And he did. We put a cylinder out there in the final against JR, and I really rolled up there to the final thinking, man, we got a real opportunity to win this. It was JR's race to lose. I mean, they had, they qualified great. They never dropped a cylinder. The car wasn't smoking the tires. So you roll up there knowing that, if they lose it, it's because it was theirs to lose. But at the end of the day, we wanted to give them, a real opportunity to lose that race. And they won, and congrats to them. But I would have loved to win my second Indy, But at the end of the day, I think we learned a lot at Indy with the way we're wanting to run this race car and what we're going to do rolling into the countdown. So the confidence, those 4 runs really made our confidence grow coming into the countdown. We were even talking about maybe testing on this Monday, at Indy or whatever it may be. But after that Indy race, we were like, no, we're good. So I feel confident rolling into this deal. And you would think, man, you should have it figured out by now. But I'm telling you, dude, I don't think a whole lot of people do. They go up there with the combo and they try to make it work at each racetrack. And that's what we're doing. But I feel confident in who's tuning the race car, and the guys that are putting it together and bolting it together. So I want this to be a super fun countdown. I think that this will be my 9th or 10th countdown or something like that. And it's one of those things where, you get so caught up in it. And at the end of the day, man, I'm blessed to do what I do. I get paid to drive a fuel funny car, and sometimes we get caught up with that pressure, and we got to do this, and we got to perform. Our job's on the line, but so what? Our job's on the line every run, man. So, what's the difference from at the beginning of the year to now? It's nothing, So it's just the format, and we know we got to go out here and win two or three races and go some rounds to really be a champion out here. So we know what we got to do. We know how to get there, and that's just we got to execute and make it happen, man.
I am always going back and kind of arguing for the countdown. I know that there are still some fans that still don't get with it, and they make some valid points. I understand. But what you just described to me is the reason we do it, is that everybody has got this renewed feeling of opportunity. And it's a clean slate. It's a clean slate. And you even said it. I want it to be fun. This 6-race run for the championship, and of course, a lucky break is going to decide some things. We just don't know what lies ahead, and to me, that's exciting. Everybody has to be at their best at the same time.
No, I agree. I mean, obviously, for that person that dominated, I feel like there should probably be more of than a 20-point gap, but that's here nor there. It's just what it is. But yeah, I think that, if you go out here and you've been you're number one, and you've been that way all year long, and there probably should be a little bit bigger gap than 20 points. But other than that, I like the countdown. I enjoy it. It gets me up and it gets me pumped up, and I'm hitting the practice tree and I'm motivated and I'm trying to make sure I get enough sleep and trying to do all the right things. But at the end of the day, you get there for a reason. You're not just gifted into the countdown. So you have to struggle and go through battles and win races to get yourself to be in that position, to be in the top 10. And then you get to throw down and hunt it at the end of the year, So, I think I like it just because it makes you try to peak at the end of the year. You can, throw all your magic and your stuff at it at the beginning of the year and win as many races as you can. And that's great. And we want to do that for our sponsors, but these 6 races, nobody remembers how many races you win during the year. They remember who the champion is, so that's what matters, is these last 6. And it's good for our sponsors and it's good. I love putting Wallies up on the wall and I want to do more of that, but it's all about the championship, and that's what people remember, and that's what our sponsors remember, and that's where they get the exposure and the time and the TV and everything else in the rings, man. I want more rings, So, you think about that stuff, you dream about that stuff, it becomes you, it consumes you, and it's all come down to now, man. It's like getting ready for a fight. You know what I mean? Like you just, you trained all year long. You got yourself in shape, and now it's time to put your mouthpiece in and throw down.
Very exciting, very exciting. I want to follow up real quick since you're second. You're second in the points. So Courtney pretty much dominated the regular season. She had a large points lead, but there were several drivers that had great success and good seasons. But she went in with the points lead. So you're second, and you're 20 points back. What is the right number, do you think? What would be too much? I think 100 would be too much.
100's too much, yeah.
So, but 20's too few.
50 points or something like that, half a race or something, a little over half or whatever. I don't know. You can get into whatever. I just think that there should be a little bit bigger reward if you've dominated for the entire season. Now, but there's those times where you just roll in here and you end up 1 because you had a good last race. Like we were 2 because we had a good last Indy. You know what I mean? So, there's that side of it too. So it's hard to give too much of a gap. You know what I mean? But I think it should depend upon how many races you win and how long you've led and that kind of stuff as well. So there's, no different than our track prep of why are we not prepping the track when it's 110 degrees outside? Let's full prep. And then if it's 60 degrees outside, then, it can't just always be one way. You know what I mean? There has to be some thought and a thought process behind what we do. No different than, crew chiefs and everything else. Everybody thinks about what they do. So NHRA, I feel like, there should be a thought process behind some of that stuff too. It doesn't just have to be, one way or another, that kind of stuff. So, but that's a whole different subject.
Sure. Well, you know what? It's funny because you brought it up and I'm thinking about it. And, maybe the amount of wins you get over the course of the season accrue some sort of extra points. Because if you win 8 races in the regular season, that should be worth something. But that's for a different conversation. Correct. For a different year. Now, I'm looking at this thing. You're getting ready to go into this battle. We use all kinds of hyperbole to describe the fight and the battle. In the end, you guys are drag racing. You're going 330 miles per hour. and there are 10 teams that are trying to win the championship. And the way Tim Wilkerson, who is 10th, has been running, I think, he comes out of the box with a good run. He could go on and string 6 races together. But there's got to be people that are on your mind as the guy that they got their hand on the trophy like you guys. Like, what do you think when you go into this thing?
Like there's some guys like definitely we look at, and God bless her. I think she's a great driver and she's doing really well. But after this header rule change, their car has kind of fallen off a little bit. They're not number one. They're not doing what they were doing, after they made this rule. The people I'm kind of looking at is the, Langdon and JR. I mean, their cars are really running well, but there's a couple others out there that you kind of, my teammates and stuff like that. Beckman's been stepping up. They're running strong. Caps is always a strong one that's there. But those are the 3 people I'm really kind of got my own right now is like, Jack and, Langdon and JR. Those cars are coming around. The 4 stuff, that they do a good job, but ever since we've changed that, or NHRA has made that rule change, their cars hasn't ran the way they have been in the beginning of the year. So, they're trying to figure some stuff out like everybody had to go through before. So not knocking them, but they're just not and maybe they come out here and surprise me. Not like I said, no disrespect. My eye is not there right now. So I think that the Coletta cars, they're starting to figure some stuff out. And I know Jack, they've been running well. They just come off a race win here lately. And there's a couple little cars here and there that you just kind of look at and keep in the back of your mind going like, we get across from these guys. We need to put them on the trailer, to make sure that they're not, gaining momentum and moving forward. And, could be a car that could be pretty deadly out here.
The intensity of the moment in the countdown. We just came in off the U.S. Nationals. You were in the final round. So in drag racing speak, there's nothing bigger than that. Final round, U.S. Nationals. But if there are fans that we can assume are new fans, I see them on that walking tour every week. The TV ratings show that there's new people. I know I've got new podcast listeners. Can you try to explain the difference between staging up in the countdown and trying to turn on a win light, doing your thing, trying to convince yourself every run down the track is the same, even though they're not, compared to staging up and, no disrespect to any early season race. We'll call it Arizona, just because that's the second race of the season. You're trying to win that one too. But this is different. Explain why, how, and how you control your mind, or try to.
Yeah, first round is just, a loss is a kiss of death, man. You have 1 or 2 first-round losses in the countdown, and you pretty much pack it up, man. So going rounds is crucial, just being focused and being motivated. But on the flip side, not looking at big-picture stuff, man. Like, for me, I can't control but so many things there, and it's not – that's why we are a team. You surround yourself by the best individuals, the smartest people that you can, and they're your team, and you count on each other to do – their job. They count on me to drive a car, keep it in the groove, and turn the wind light on. And really, other than that, I don't have too much control. So I just simplify it, man. Like, what can I control? There's huge amounts of pressure. There's always huge amounts of pressure. And but what does putting pressure on yourself do? It makes people make mistakes, so because they're thinking about it too much. And that's why it's called a reaction time, not a think time up there, So it's just, for me, less is more. Maybe because I have ADD and I don't think about anything. I can only focus on stuff for a little while. I do well like that because I'm not thinking about it. You just go up there and do what you know how to do, that got me here the entire year, the last 8 or 9 years of my career. Like, what have I done? It's just the same stuff every time, and I try to do that to the best of my ability. There's not been a time that I've gotten in that race car and not strapped down and not tried to give 100%. So, we all, even when we make mistakes, when Don comes in and going like, what happened, man? Like, it's not because that you meant to make that mistake. It just happens. People are human, and you learn from that, you grow from that, and you hope that never happens again. But at the end of the day, you give 100 and your guys give 100, and that's all you can do, man. So it falls where it falls. So thinking about it, worrying about it doesn't change anything. So for me, it's just, that's why I wanted to get back to enjoying that ride, man. Enjoying being out here and being made and getting paid to do what I love to do is a blessing. So just keeping it humble and keeping it real, and just know that you have that opportunity that's there and that you're surrounded by the best people that you can possibly put yourself around. and knowing that they have that drive and that motivation, and then just keeping it simple, man. Just don't overthink it. Just do what you know how to do, and that's what's allowed me to win a couple championships and always be in the hunt, you know.
I like that advice for everything. I like that advice for going to work if you're a regular guy going to work. Like, you know, for you, see the light, react to the light, keep it straight, hope you win.
Right. Keep it simple, brother.
Keep it simple. I love it. Hey, how about Reading as the first race? That's a big difference. We know we got some crazy people up there, big fans. The Baiters now taking over Maple Grove. There's going to be some sort of Baiterist experience over there.
Yeah, Maple Grove's always a great track, man. And it's, Mike Lewis and his family used to own that there. He works at DSR. He's a VP, and they've always done a great job. But it's always been a fast racetrack. If we get some cool weather and some good conditions, and if NHRA glues the racetrack, we'll put on a hell of a show out there for these fans. And, it's one of those things where we have the opportunity to really, throw down and for our conditions and what we love doing. If we get a little cloud cover, man, watch out, So I just enjoy going to the Grove, man. It's close to home. It reminds me of like the atmosphere of my hometown, a little farming community, and all these little back roads you get to take, So whenever we can jump in one of those Dodges, man, those SRT stuff, man, like that's how fun is that to hit those back roads with those, So it's just a lot of fun.
My first year there, Matt, I had a Hyundai Sonata, and I had never been there. And, Hyundai Sonata is not like a superior road car. No offense, Hyundai. It's just a fact.
Right.
I can't imagine cruising those roads in an SRT Challenger. That would be awesome. Yeah. Elevation change, switchbacks. It's awesome just getting to the track.
Look forward to it, brother. If I can get them talked into a Hellcat or something like that, there it's look out, man, look out. It's just we have a lot of fun out there, but we have a lot of good people out there, that's supporting this block party with Mopar and Dodge and everybody else, and so when like Savage Dodge, man, he's coming out. He usually hooks us up with some cars and stuff, and so I'm gonna do some work and see if I can get a Hellcat or at least get an SRT Challenger or something like that to have some fun on these back roads.
There you go. Of course, obeying all posted speed limits, without a doubt. We were
100%. But it doesn't mean that you can't go into that curve at that speed limit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's all good.
Exactly, Matt. Congratulations on a strong season. Bringing home second into the countdown is a big deal. You're only 20 points out of the lead. The championship is out there. Someone is going to take it. And it sounds like you guys are ready. The thing that I like the most about what you said is that you want to have as much fun as possible along the way. I know that coincides with winning races and going rounds and all that. I know what that means, but you're ready to enjoy this as opposed to stressing, and I love that attitude. I want to thank you for coming on the show. We'll see you at the block party. Good luck in the home run derby. I know you're going to, try to be smooth, right? Try to be smooth. Let the muscles do their thing.
Yeah, just like the countdown, man. Good or bad, it falls where it falls. Just be smooth with it, enjoy it, and have some fun.
There you go. Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Thank you, Matt. Matt Hagan with us here on WFO Radio. And Matt, champion driver, 2 times over, great guy, very always, there has never been a time, I can tell you this, not that this matters, but there has never been a time that Matt Hagan has told me no to anything. Too busy, too bothered, too consumed, things on his plate, challenges, never. Matt Hagan, and there are people who like to know this stuff and other people who don't like to know this stuff, but I'm just telling you that no matter what, Matt Hagan has always been eager and available for the WFO audience, and I really appreciate that. Thanks to Matt for coming on the show. As far as the battle, I'm just going to get out the way and watch. Wow, it's going to be spectacular. The funny car battle is going to be so much fun watching everybody fight it out for this championship, and there can be only one. Now, we've got more guests coming up. We got Rick Jones, we got Antron Brown, we got Stevie Fast, we got Matt Smith. We're going to space them out. We're going to bring on Rick Jones next, then Antron, since Antron is pre-recorded audio. And Rick Jones is a real person. We're going to have that. Going to talk a little pro stock. But right now, motorsportsguys.com. Go to the website. Open a browser. If you're going to do an oil change in the next little bit, get your oil from motorsportsguys.com, because now they have Wolf's Head Oil. They have Molly filters. They got K&N filters. They got All-Star Performance Racing and high-performance parts from Motor State Distributing and Lane Automotive. We've got a lot of stuff on there now. It's like an auto parts store, except they ship to your door. Imagine that. Based in Elkhart, Indiana, it's owned by Terry McMillan, U.S. Nationals winner, Terry McMillan. They got Amelie's new Pro Racing 70 oil with Molly, used by many professional drag racers, including Terry. There's a larger tuning curve for those drop cylinder moments, saves bearings and crankshafts, provides more compression with better ring seal and less fuel in your oil. Comes in 70, comes in 2050, comes in 1030, 520. Pro stands for Professional Race Oil. And Amelie, of course, is better than it has to be since 1903. Available at motorsportsguys.com. And for you WFO listeners, you got to get the hat, okay? This is it. You're going to get a free hat. You add the Vegas Win Tribute hat to your cart at checkout. You use the promo code WFO when you buy something, and you're getting the hat for free. You're getting the hat for free. Do it. Do it. Get the hat for free. Motorsportsguys.com. Big thanks to Terry for coming on the show and supporting WFO Radio. All right, we got more to come. Rick Jones coming up next.
It ain't just wide open. It's WFO.
Hussey Performance Copper Head Gaskets. Do you make big power? That's the question. Do you make power? Hussey Performance specializes in quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Any bore, any size and thickness. From 500 cubic inch nitro burning Hemis to turbocharged Pro Mods to Honda engines or even big tractors. Hussey Performance makes the gaskets. Hussey stocks gaskets in increments of 1/1000th of an inch. And if they don't stock it, they can custom make it for any application. This allows racers to get their exact compression ratio that they're going for. Hussey Performance gaskets are the most accurate on the market. With nearly 40 years of experience in the copper industry, they know exactly where and how to purchase copper to the tightest tolerances. 1/1000th. 1/1000th. If you're a racer, you're thinking about, well, how long does this take? Typically, less than a week. They want to help you make the race. Next day shipping is also available. What to do? You got to call David directly, 724-318-8292, or go to husseyperformance.net. And one more thing, it's all made in America, including the machines they use. That is huge. 724-318-8292, Hussey Performance, copper head gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Get fired up on the WFO line.
WFO, Joe.
954-889-6796.
It's been an absolute joy to be a drag racing fan.
Go wide open, and your call may be used on the show.
Or preface by saying I'm not a Kurt Busch fan or apologist. I don't know where Greg Anderson's ego is gone, but I know one person that's going to be a big-time villain in pro stock.
That's 954-889-6796. That phone line is always WFO.
You've been listening to WFO Radio for a long time now, and you hear these racers all talking about how much they spend, how much they travel, how hard they work, all to accelerate really, really quickly. Well, Frank Hawley and Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School has figured a way for you to do it at a fraction of the price, the work, the effort, the time. It is a fun experience. It's called the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com and investigate. No ride-along. You drive it. You are the driver. It's called the Dragster Adventure. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more and tell them you heard it on WFO.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
The countdown, baby, the countdown. If you guys were NFL fans and we were saying playoffs, you'd be freaking out. That's how you should be feeling about the countdown. The intensity and the shock of the knowing and the knowledge that the field is going to start with everybody having hopes and dreams of winning championships. And a couple of races in, some people's hopes will be dashed. Who's it going to be? That is what makes it exciting. I'm very fired up about the NHRA Countdown. We got Rick Jones, crew chief for Erica Enders, coming up next. But right now, I want to tell you about samtech.edu. Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and, of course, at the track. In addition to block, head, and CNC programs, Sam now offers motorsport EFI tuning. Do you think you can use that? I know you can. They also offer an Associate of Applied Science degree. Sam's a military-friendly school, and they're approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today. They're located in Houston. They've got a great campus. They're constantly expanding. And best of all, for you people who are thinking about this, they are greatly connected in the motorsport industry. And so once you complete the course, they can set you up and connect you with a potential job. That is the best part. samtech.edu. Time to talk Pro Stock. Joining us now, he is getting ready for the countdown in the Factory Hot Rods Pro Stock. He is crew chief for Erica Enders, and they are only 30 points out of the championship lead. Rick Jones joins us now. Rick, welcome back to WFO. How are you?
Good, Joe. How are you doing?
I am thrilled. I'm excited. I'm fired up for the countdown. And I know that we have been talking about having you back on the show to talk about whatever is up, and this is the perfect opportunity as you guys get ready for the fight of your lives. You got another shot at a championship.
Yeah, we do. This countdown format definitely makes it so that if somebody has a big points lead on you, that you can be all gathered up and bunched up together and start over and see who can be the best in the last 6 races of the year.
And I love it. I'm going to say it over and over again. I know I've got a couple of fans out there that don't like it. I know there are some drivers that don't like it. I will continuously make the case, though. I want to see everybody have to be their best at the same time and conclude the season that way. That's all I want, and that's what we're getting.
Yeah, I dig it. It just like in 14, when we won our first championship, I mean, how could it be more exciting than that? To come down to the final round at the World Finals at Pomona and the last run to decide the World Championship between us and Jason Line. It was definitely exciting for me, and it was a great, great day.
That one, in drag racing, we don't really have what they have in the NFL or Major League Baseball. And I know why, because those sports have been around for 100 years and there's just so much more money around there. But to analyze championship runs, make videos of championship runs, like that season's battle, and that final race in particular, she had a side-by-side Trip Zero run with Jonathan Gray. That was extremely dramatic, one of the best of all time.
Yeah, that was cool. That was, if I remember right, Louis Bloom said it was never done before in NHRA's history, that both drivers were 000. And, that day was just, it was our day. And to go out and for a single car team to do what we did that year was really unheard of. And I'm so proud of that. And I look back and I was like, man, I'd just like to get another chance at that. And 15, we won 9 races that year. And, in the countdown, we did so well. We actually won before the countdown. We won the 15. We won Brainerd. We won Indy. And we ended up, just doing so well after that, Charlotte and just, we won so many races. We actually ended up wrapping up the championship in Vegas, and truly it wasn't as exciting as it was the year before, but it was still great.
And that cements the legend of Erica Enders as one of the greats in Pro Stock. But then you guys kind of, took a chance, we know, switching to the Mopars, and it just didn't work out. And then, fuel injection and just so many different things between you and where you wanted to be This year, however, you're now back, and you sorted out many things and have a legit shot with 2 cars to battle for the championship, as in Erica, as in Jeg. Vincent is in the mix, running power from Elite. But the house cars both got a shot, sitting 3rd and 4th in the standings. So then my question becomes, we hear the Nitro guys talk about saving clutch discs and preparing for the countdown and really mapping it out. What about Pro Stock? How do you plan for this 6-race battle royal?
Definitely. We have parts that we save, clutch parts and tires. Tires are a big thing for us, so we definitely have tires lined up for the countdown. And, but first thing I want to say, Richard Freeman has done a great job, with putting all this together and all the right people in the right places. And, with Erica and Jeg, 2 great drivers, and me and Ricky at the helm of these 2 cars, and it's just, and all the people at the engine shop, and everybody's worked so hard to make sure everything is tip-top shape. And this countdown deal, it's all about peaking at the right time. If you peak in April and you're not so good now, you don't have a chance. You have to be on top of your game, and I'm hoping to peak right now. We're still waiting. I was hoping to start at Brainerd. It didn't work out. Hoping to do better at Indy. Jeg had a good weekend at Indy. Erica didn't. So I'm hoping that we can come out swinging and start this weekend in Reading and start peaking and start winning races.
Now, we have seen Erica get back into the winner's circle and have many good runs, many final rounds, and we know she's one of the best, but whatever she needs, a 00 light, she can go 00, but now there are others that can do that. It's almost as if she set the model for other racers, where in the past it was like, and please feel free to correct me, you've been around a long time, but it seemed like, I'm going to try to hammer the tree as best as I can, and maybe it would be 00, and maybe it would be 020, and you have your best possible reaction time based on what you feel. But it seemed like Erica was the first to dial her reaction time. Like if she needs a 00, she can go 00. If she's got the guy covered, she can go 020. And now other people have emulated that.
Yeah, they it's like anything else. Once they see somebody else do it, they figure, hey, I got to do it. You can have a fast car, but obviously right now there's like 6 or 8 cars that run about the same. So it's going to be whoever gets their foot off the clutch first has the best chance to win. So, and she's really good at that, and we always work together very well in the clutch linkage settings and all that. And, now there's other people. Tanner is really good on the tree, and he does have a lot of steam going right now, so he'll be tough to beat, but by no means are we giving up. I can tell you this weekend we're starting to swing, and we're going to bring our best stuff forward, and we're not giving it to nobody. They're going to have to earn it, just like we did in 14 and 15.
Now, you mentioned Tanner. He's going in as the points leader, and he's got that young swagger. He and Erica, dust up early in the season, then mutual respect, and they have really not battled again since that point, a couple of times, but it's kind of interesting, the foreshadowing of that. But we really can't make it about any one driver, because you got Greg Anderson out there who could unleash, and he's been like on the verge of busting out almost domination, but not able to do it just because the category is so tough. You mentioned Jag, come on, he's back in a big way. Jason Line has yet to win a race. He could win 2 right at the start of the countdown, and that brings me to the category. It's so close right now, and some people think that's a great thing and it's exciting, and other people don't like it. What do you think about the fact that the whole category is separated really by, let's call it 15 thousandths?
That is exciting, and again, the whole countdown deal starts over. Everybody has a fresh start, so, some people had bigger lead on us. Now that's all cut back, so it makes it better for us. Now we have a chance, but things have to go your way. There's 6 races. You can't screw up at all of them by no means. You know, you can usually have one, you can maybe go out early in the second round or something like that, but the rest of them, you need to be semifinals or be in the finals and win races to win the championship. And you also need to qualify really good and get some baby points, because that really makes a big difference. The baby points do during qualifying.
Absolutely. Those qualifying points make a huge difference, and that was one of the reasons Tanner was able to take the points lead from Greg, because they were able to dominate the little points at the points and a half race.
Absolutely. You know, and Jake had a good points weekend, you know, and Indy was 1.5 points, you know, over the normal 1 point deal, you know, so he made up a lot of ground and moved up to fourth in points. And I think that's it's like you said, we have 3 cars. I think we're third, fourth, and fifth in points, and that's going to be, you know, it's just going to be a crazy countdown. That's for sure.
Does development continue through the countdown? Like, the dynos are always turning, I would imagine, just in case something can be found. But that also means that it could be potentially untested. So how do you balance risk versus reward, trying something new that's coming out of the engine shop that they think has got more power, but maybe is untested? That's got to be a tough decision-making process.
Yeah, the countdown is certainly the time that you have to have your best stuff, but not really a good time to test things at the racetrack, which we have done before. But during the countdown, you just need to take your best stuff to the race, you know, starting Friday, Q1, and try to make your best runs and just try to do the best you can. But that's really no different we're going to do this weekend than we do every week. So it's not like you're saving anything back, you know, as far as trying to do the best you can. But you just need to have everything go your way. And with her car, we haven't had that lately. We've had a good run. We had quite a few runner-ups and a win, but we need to start now. And so does Jag. You know, we need to start winning now and have things go our way and peak right now. That's the only way we're going to win the championship. And
try to, you know, the ladder game, right? Avoid running each other early. Something that when there's multiple cars, it's really challenging to do. You got to get the most out of qualifying, because you would hate to run each other in early rounds.
Yeah, we don't want that to happen. We have had that happen, but if we qualify well, if we're both in the top 5 or 6, you know, we don't have to worry about that, running each other early, you know. So we just need to be, we have 2 fast cars, we know that, and we just need to be at the top of our game and be at the top of the qualifying. She qualified number 1 at Brainerd, and Jag has qualified a lot of times this year well too. So it's we have fast cars. We just have to get our act together on Sunday better. And so I'm hoping that's going to start this weekend. That's the game plan.
Do you have like a big moment before the race, like a speech, like a talking to, like we see an NFL coach gather the guys in and talk about what has to happen? Or is this a situation where your guys have been here before, they know what to do, they've won championships, and you can count on them to bring full intensity?
No, Richard is a great leader and stuff like that too, and we'll have a meeting, I think, Friday before we get going, you know, tell everybody how important everything is, all the nuts and bolts tight. But, you know, we have a really good cruise, and we don't have to worry about that. It's just everybody at the top of the game all the time. And it's so hard, because you have to make the right decisions. You know, Ricky and I both have to make the right calls on these cars. That's really important. And the drivers have to make good decisions. You know, they have to be on time. Shifting these cars too are just extremely difficult with the 10.5 rev limiter we have now. You know, they could hit the chips so easy. You know, they have like a less than 100 RPM window shifting the car. You know, you can be 100 low and the car might slow down a little bit. And if you're just a little high, you're going to hit the chip, and that'll slow it down a lot. So they're not easy to drive. They're not easy to tune. And it might look easy on TV, but they are certainly not easy to drive our tune. And I love the class, and we're just going to have to put forth our best effort. And we're within striking distance right now, so we need to make it happen this weekend.
That brings me to a couple of things. Always trying to educate the public as to why Pro Stock is fantastic and amazing, and in many ways the most impressive of all the NHRA cars for what they are. And we just had this Mountain Motor Pro Stock exhibition out there at the U.S. Nationals, and I said flat out, my experience with Mountain Motor Pro Stock was very limited, being in South Florida, so kind of far away from everything, and being an NHRA guy, I always really enjoyed and liked the 500 cubic inch stuff because it's, NASA, almost NASA-level technology. And so the Mountain Motor cars go out there, and they run in, 630s, and you guys are running 660s, and I'm thinking, man, that's a small block Chevrolet sitting on top of a 500 cubic inch Pro Stocker, and it's basically 0.2 quicker. And so, I don't know, I watch it, and I think they're cool, but I like the 500 cubic inch cars better. That's just my thing. And so, those cars are out there for a reason, and I'm starting to think like maybe this is the final year of all 500 cubic inch Pro Stock. Certainly that's the rumbling. It's nothing official. I know that you know more than I do, and this year could be special. This could be the last year of Pro Stock as we have known it.
Yeah, you're right. I never thought about it that way, but I hear the same things you hear. I really don't know any more than you know, but I hear that it might happen next year, and if that's what we need to make the class stronger, I'm all for it. I have no problem with it. They'll have to conform to some of our rules and make some changes, and they'll have to slow them down and so that make both cars, the 500 inch and the Mountain Motor cars, run the same ETs so it can be fair for everybody. So that's up to NHRA. I'm sure they'll do a great job at that. But we always welcome that and have more cars, and they got some Fords and they got a Mopar and stuff like that. So if they come over, maybe definitely add some more to the class.
Well,
but that's something that could be cool and different, starting next year. So we'll see what NHRA does and see what happens.
It's a very interesting exercise, and I guess we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. Rick, can you, and this is, like a list, can you tick off a list of the factors that you have to consider when going up for first round, like changes that you have to make, like the tuning calls for our listeners, obviously gear, transmission gears, like, all top to bottom, the elements that must be considered, factors that may or may not be changed, permutations of all these factors to put together a winning run.
You talking first round on Sunday?
Well,
or qualifying?
Give me what you think would be the most interesting scenario.
Well, qualifying, we run in front of fuel and funny cars, so the track is definitely a little different. When they prep the track for us, we don't like a lot of spray on the starting line. They spray the track from like the tree on for us. And because that glue actually makes it so sticky for us, it makes it shake easier. Like the car sticks the tire and wads the tire up, and it's just something the Pro Stock cars don't like. But so yeah, when we go up for any run like that, even in qualifying, usually Q1 we want to get a nice run in so that the night session, Friday night, we can swing harder. So we want to make a good run, and there's so many things to consider. Depends what the air is going to be. We go off of what we call correction factor, which takes in the temperature, the humidity, the barometer, and tells us how much horsepower we have. At a perfect location, we have a lot of barometer near the ocean. The barometer could be over 30, and that's a lot of horsepower. And if it's really cool temperatures down to 50s or low 60s, you can get a zero correction, which is what we call sea level, at sea level. And that produces a lot of horsepower. This weekend in Maple Grove, it has pretty good air. It looks like it's going to be warmer, around 80 degrees or so the air won't be perfect by no means, but it'll still be pretty good. And we have to select the rear end ratio that we put in the rear end. That's based on, the conditions and how the air is, what kind of horsepower we're going to make, and what tire we run. Then we have to choose what low gear, and not only low gear, but second, third, and fourth, what we're going to run in the transmission, how much clutch, how much weight we move around, and that depends what the track's like. So if it's sunny or cloudy, if the track's cool or warm, makes all those choices. And of course, we got so many changes we have to make to the chassis, shocks and struts and all that stuff. And so there's definitely a lot of items and tuning that we have to do to the car for every run. And on Sunday, it's way more difficult because Top Fuel and Funny Car runs first. So the track is different. We have to run right behind them. The track is way different on Sunday than it is in qualifying. So that's just experience, what the track's going to be like. And the tune-up you have to make to the car is not the same as you run in qualifying. So it's definitely a lot of things you have to change for that. But it's kind of nerve-wracking. It's like you said, with people watching, sometimes you can't see that. You don't see all the changes that we make. But I can tell you that we swing a lot of parts and move a lot of things around inside the car every run to get the optimum amount of performance we can out of the car to meet the racetrack and the air we have at that time.
And I can't help but think of this element, and our listeners can probably relate to like decision making. Like, hey, where are we going to go to dinner? Did I make the right decision? It's hard to live with your decisions. You have to live with these decisions and then go up to the lanes. And I can't imagine you're not constantly second guessing yourself and hoping that you made the right call and dealing with the anxiety that comes with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you make your transmission change, your choice and all that stuff. Now we can make changes on our clutch, leave RPM, wheelie bars, all that stuff, even chassis stuff, we can change that in the stager lanes. But when you roll up there and you have what transmission you have, you're not going to change it again. Sometimes you roll up there and then you look at the track, which we go look at the track ahead of time, but then you roll up there and clouds come in or something. It's like, oh no, I don't have the right low gear in the car. I don't have the right tires on the car or the right rear gear on the car. And we keep a little notebook with us up on the starting line. And we look at previous runs and stuff, and it's like, oh no, I don't feel like I'm right. So making change, start work. And you radio back, it's like change this, change that, and try to do everything you can to keep up, with that's changing. Like at Indy, we were sitting in staging lanes. It's like, oh, it's sunny, man. Temperature goes up, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna make a change, and then here comes the clouds. Temperature goes back down on the track, So it's like, oh boy, you're constantly changing stuff all the time, and it is really cool to do, but it can be stressful for sure, because you don't want to make the wrong call that can screw everything up, because you don't want to let down the team, the driver, the owner. There's a lot riding on your shoulders, to be a crew chief,
Yes.
So it's something it's very hard in every class, all the fuel guys, and it don't matter what class it is, it's hard to make the calls. Very hard. Like you said, let's go somewhere to eat. When I go home, I tell my wife, I don't want to make any decisions like that, because I have to make so many decisions every day at work and at the racetrack. It's difficult sometimes, but you have to live with it, do the best you can, and you come back, and that's what you did, and however it turns out.
And you live with it. Yeah, but I
live with it.
I admire that. I admire that because I can see it. I can see decision-making on a regular basis is very challenging. And when there's a lot of pressure and you got a team of guys and a girl who are like, they're going to have to live with it too. Victory, defeat, championships, no championships. That's to me, that's what's exciting. And the fact that there's going to be 10 teams that are nearly equal, all battling it out over 6 races for the championship here in 2018. What may be the final year of 500 cubic inch Pro Stock all by itself, thus, the historic run of Pro Stock going back to 1982. I'm excited about it, and I appreciate you coming on the show to give us a little insight into what's going on with your team over at Elite, with Erica, of course, with Jag and Ricky, and it is going to be a whole lot of fun. We just got to hope we get good weather throughout the entire countdown and are able to watch you guys do your thing. But I want to thank you for coming on the show and more importantly, being very supportive of the show, throughout. I appreciate that. It's helpful, and thank you for giving us insight into your championship battle.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. It's great to be on the show. You always watch us up on the starting line. I see you up there all the time, and I'm always saying something to you or whatever. But you see us, it is high stress, But for us, I just want all the fans to have a good time and watch us and have fun and come out to the races. We got 6 races, from one end of the country to the other, so just come out and watch us and come by the pits and watch us make our changes and see what happens. We're definitely going to try to win the championship and hopefully one of us can get it done.
It's going to come down to big moments that we can't even foresee. I would imagine like whoever wins this is going to have to survive some big pressure moments, and that's what we're watching for. That's the entertainment of the sport, I think. Rick, thank you for coming on the show. Yeah. Appreciate it. Good luck to you both. Good luck to the whole team as you get ready for this countdown battle.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me on today.
Rick Jones with us here on WFO Radio, and I am looking forward to that. The discussion we had with Alan Reinhart, now the discussion we had with Rick Jones, and the races that are going to come down to 00 blank to 00 blank. It's going to happen, and maybe it'll be Erica and Tanner all the way to the end, or maybe it'll be Greg and Erica. Like, we just don't know who's going to trip up, who's going to fall, who's going to come from behind. We just don't know, and that's what makes it so exciting. We got more to come. Antron Brown, Stevie Fast, Matt Smith, all coming up on the show. Johnny D, John DiBartolomeo. Johnny D, I might end up putting Johnny D in his own show, honestly, from Drag Racing Edge. I'm really considering that. But right now I want to tell you about aerospacecomponents.com. 727-347-9915. Brakes, vacuum pumps, shifters, pedals. If it's made of billet aluminum and it works well on a race car, the folks at Aerospace Components are probably trying to make it better. They've been around for over 30 years. They started out in the aerospace industry. They're located in Tampa area of Florida. They've got state-of-the-art CNC machining centers. They've got inspection equipment, and they love racing. And one of their breakout success stories, in addition to their front brake calipers, is the titanium wave rotor. Better than carbon fiber. It's lighter than steel. And it fits on your regular Aerospace Components brake package. It saves you a lot of weight. They're making pedal kits now, doing so many things. Go to aerospacecomponents.com. Watch some of the Kimmy's Garage shows, talking about Kim Cussy, a very devoted and diehard fan of all forms of drag racing. And the folks at Aerospace Components stepping up to support WFO Radio. So the next time you're looking for something for your race car, hot rod, street rod, you want next level stuff, 727-347-9915, or go to aerospacecomponents.com. When we come back, we're going to hear from Antron Brown as he gets ready for the countdown.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one. Honest. Listen.
Oh, the sound of a tiny kitten. How great is that? Maybe you should get one. But then, what are you going to do about the litter box? The only downside to having a cat. The litter box, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with the litter box? And the answer is catspotlitter.com. The folks at CatSpot have developed something new. Their litter is made with one simple ingredient, and that's coconut. It has no harmful allergens, no chemicals for your feline friend or you, because you got to get in there. CatSpot is 100% all natural. It's both odor eliminating and hypoallergenic. It's made right here in America, and the best part about it is they support NHRA Mellow Yellow Drag Racing on the side of Scott Palmer's car, guys like Dom Lagana, guys like Joe Castello and WFO Radio. That guy is awful. catspotlitter.com. You got to check it out. New supporter of WFO Radio.
The stars of drag racing. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Joining us now, Antron Brown. Now, you told me on Thursday you got the WFO Radio app. I did not know that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You got to have the WFO app, brother, so you can keep up. For people that just are a fan of the sport, all they got to do is turn on WFO if they miss the race, because you get to hear the side-by-side blows from the winners, everybody that was there. You got Reinhart on, and you do a great job, Joe. I mean, you put out all the different perspectives of NHRA racing. Like I told you, not only am I just a professional racer in NHRA racing, I'm a fan of the sport, and I love it. And if you're a true fan, you got to have the WFO app.
For more with the stars of drag racing, download the WFO Radio app. Available in the App Store or Android Market. Motorsports entertainment, full interviews with weekly winners, videos, push notifications, and more. Download it now.
Hey, everybody. How do you start your day? You started off with a little coffee. And do you want something cheap and vacuum-packed garbage? You want to pay for a retail coffee? It's like $11. Or do you want something that is good, like RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com? Join the RoadAxe Army. WFO users and listeners know all about it. Over 40 grades to choose from. This is roasted fresh per your order, not to mention hot sauce, spice rub. You got to call Marvin, get on the phone line, or go to the website, RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. Check it out. That's RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com.
It's great to be on your show, man. Every time I'm on your show, brother, I know on WFO, I know we did something good.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Thank you for being a podcast listener. That's what this is. You're listening to a podcast. You're a podcast listener. And while this show did start years ago on the radio, on radio in Miami, and then moving to XM satellite radio, and now here online, because this is where everybody listens to their stuff anyway, through their mobile devices, you are a podcast listener. And the WFO podcast app is out there and available and allows you to listen at 1.5 times speed, all kinds of great new features. If you don't have it, you should download it, because it's really, really good. And the folks at Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants have come on board with WFO Radio because they understand we've got a vast and growing audience, and many of these folks that listen to the show are shop owners, machinists themselves. They're out there doing and making and building. And Hangstifer's has been on board with Don Schumacher Racing and John Force Racing, and these people are machining a lot of stuff, and they use Hangstifer's. And Antron Brown was out there at the IMTS trade show signing autographs and having a great time, meeting and greeting with WFO listeners and everybody that's coming by the Hangstifer's booth. Go to Hangstifer's.com to find out more information. But if you have got a shop and you do any kind of cutting, their goal is to make you more efficient. It goes quicker with their metalworking lubricants. So check that out. But right now, we're going to throw it to the audio from earlier this week. Antron Brown, the 3-time champ, joined us right before the IMTS trade show, at which he was going to be signing autographs in the Hangstifer's booth. Joining us now, he is in the battle for the NHRA Mellow Yellow Top Fuel Championship. He has won it 3 times in his career, and he looks pretty strong right now. Antron Brown joins us now. AB, welcome back.
Joe, it's good to be back.
Well, this is it. Here we are on the verge, the precipice of another championship battle. The NHRA Countdown is upon us.
I know, man, and like we always talk about, man, there's 6 races to get the job done. And for me, we're starting a little bit further back than we ever started back, but we had a chance to make up there, but Indy wasn't the race that we were hoping for. That weather came in. We start off first round like really, really good. And, man, I tell you what, it got hot so fast where it threw everybody a curveball where nobody really made it down. So, but with that being said is that the weather's going to be right in Maple Grove, and we're licking our chops right now. It's going to be like high 70s, cloudy. So we know that track's going to be tight, being all concrete. So we're ready to get after it to make it for a great first countdown race.
And you got to start fast. I mean, you don't have to do anything. There's points and a half at the end. We don't know what's going to happen. it could be a countdown where everybody struggles and number one gets taken out first round at the next race. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen, but the past has told us a fast start is important.
Oh, absolutely. You want to get off to a great start. And the main thing is being consistent. Like, now there's different strategies in the way we race right now, because it's kind of one of those deals where you don't know what you're going to get. We've been used to, like, the tracks being domineered, like, where they're just tight, they're right, where you can go out there and throw down low ET. And now it's not about what power you make. It's about how you apply it, because the track is kind of even out the playing field. And right now we're all still getting adjusted to it. So it's anybody's game right now. And that's the thing. But I know our team's been coming on really strong these last several races. We've been qualifying in like the top 5 at all the last races, going deep in the field, like either winning or getting runner-up, and qualify well at Indy. And we're looking forward to doing the same things, to just keep on qualifying at the top of the heap, because it really sets you up for race day, and that's the game plan.
Now, I want to talk to you about something else that's going on. The folks at Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants have come on board with WFO. I know they're a longtime sponsor of you, and you are going to be out at the IMTS trade show this week, Tuesday, from 1 to 3 p.m. You're going to be hanging out. You're going to be signing. The booth number is 237-515 in the North Building. I know a lot of our listeners are going to be out there. You're going to be signing cards. You're going to be hanging out. You got a porta-tree system out there. There's going to be half-scale dragsters out there. How cool is it to go out to a trade show and represent the folks at Hangstifer's?
Man, it's what it's all about, man. They really support our sport at the highest level, but not just supporting it. They actually make all the cutting fluids that we use in our CNC machine shop, where we make thousands of different parts and pieces. And same thing at John Force Racing down the street. And they supply all of our vendors like Diamond, Dart and Sleeves, Manley, Jessel. They're all transitioning to all the high performance industry, because they make a high performance cutting fluid, coolants, whey lubes. They make so many different things that make all of our machines go to make the important race parts on our car. And now they're just like getting known and really showing their face out. They've always been the one behind the scenes making everything happen. Now we're letting that well-kept secret out. And they're just great people. Bill, his brother, his whole family over there really have taken a liking into the NHRA drag racing family, and us at Don Schumacher Racing, including myself and Tommy Johnson Jr. And they just been part of it, man. And when you get to come out to these IMTS shows, or you come to PRI show, or you go to SEMA, they got booths out there where they're showing their love for the NHRA Male Drag Racing Series by putting the porter trees up there. And they're also supporting the youth down to junior dragster racing, like my sons and other kids out there, and Matt in the sportsman level, Matt Sackman. And it's just incredible what they've been doing for our sport as a whole. And I'm just honored just to be a part of them and be mentioned with them, because they're just great people.
You know, we always talk about manufacturing in America. That is a big, big deal. How is it different to go to a trade show, and maybe you have yet to go to one? I know that IMTS, which is located in McCormick Place in Chicago, and I would imagine some of our shop owners and engine builders are going to be hitting this show. How is that crowd different than, say, SEMA or a PRI?
Well, they're different because when you're going there, these are people that are actually manufacturing other things and not just race parts. You know what I mean? This is the making people of America when you go to these shows, where they're going there and they're buying stuff for big industry, big manufacturing, which we do have a lot of that in motorsports. But this goes beyond that. And when you go there, the coolest part is that when they come up to the booth and they see all the technology and racing stuff that's around the Hangstifer's booth, the Hangstifer's booth really gets a draw, and they're like, man, you guys are in like NASCAR, motorsports, NHRA drag racing. You're in this and this and that. And man, like Don Schumacher Racing uses your coolants and stuff like that. And then JFR uses it. This one uses it. And they're like, well, hey, we're with nothing but the best. And when they see that, people are starting to say, like, you know what, we could use that in our manufacturing deal, because if they use it out there at 330 mile an hour to make those types of parts, you know it's going to be great to make whatever part or piece that they need to make. And that's the coolest part about it, is that when you put yourself with the best and you surround yourself by the right people and the right partners, that's what makes those type of things happen, unbelievable things happen. And that's how we win championships. And that's how other companies make the quality products they make, by believing and putting their heart and soul into putting the best things that are around to make the best things available.
That is interesting. Now, out there in Brainerd, you had, great success. And I was made aware that you were running an experimental, maybe not experimental, but the first of the in-house billet blocks manufactured by the CNC shop in-house at inside DSR, but at DSM. And I thought that was a very interesting story, that you guys have taken that in-house engine blocks now. So Don is just continuing to evolve his machine shop to make everything.
Absolutely. And that was the coolest thing about it, is that, that was the first block that came off the assembly line that we put together, that we ran, and it ran flawlessly. And it's good. It's not a different part than what we used to run. It's just that we're making it in-house now, so you had an outside vendor making our blocks for us. So when we're able to put that block in and go out there and run flawlessly, and we almost won the race with it. It would have been really cool to win the race with it, but Billy Torrance had other plans.
Yeah.
But the coolest part is that now that we're able to build all that stuff, we can control all that stuff inside the race shop. So when we need stuff, we're constantly will have blocks coming right off of our Akuma CNC machines in the shop, and then we'll be able to repair them. Like, we always repaired them already, but we could actually put them back in the CNC machine and fix them too now. So with that being said, it's going to be awesome where we could just keep up with the parts and pieces that we need. You know what I mean? And that's what Don has really established at DSM to support Don Schumacher Racing, is to be able to have the willingness and the knowledge, and also have the efficiency there to give us what we need. Because now, the way we run these race cars and everything else like that, and how he takes care of a lot of other race teams out there besides ours, like a Terry McMillan or a Cruz Pedregon and teams like that. So when you got him helping all these other people, you have to have an efficient place like DSM, and he's got that going. And Mike Green's a huge part of it with Frank Savelli and all the people back there at the shop and all of our CNC boys. They make it happen, man. And I couldn't be a part of a better organization for sure.
So cool. Antron's going to be in booth number 237-515 North Building at the IMTS Trade Show Tuesday, September 11th from 1 to 3 p.m. Get on over there, CAB. You got these cool autograph posters you're going to be signing, and it's going to be great. You're going to have one of the blocks in the booth. Going to be very, very cool. All right, Antron, you're about to go on to this championship battle. NHRA, in my opinion, has never been bigger, stronger, more interesting. Top to bottom, I am having a tough time handicapping this deal. For me, Steve-O, they came so close last year. This is almost must win, but fate doesn't care about must win. You got guys like Mike Salinas running well. You got Tony Schumacher, been building to this point. Is there a way to handicap this? Clay Milliken sitting second, top to bottom. It looks like anybody can win.
Well, I'm telling you right now is that you can go by the way the whole season's gone, and I've been there. And I have been there, Joe. I have dominated the regular season. Like, I remember when they first had the countdown, I had a 300-point lead on second place, and we lost the championship that year. You know what I mean? So the regular season's one thing, but the bad part is you really don't get nothing for doing good in the regular season. You got 6 races to win a championship, and everything that we've done for the last 18 races means nothing. It means nothing. All it did was just seed you. So we went through a precursor, and all that hard work is going out the window. And I hate it because I'm an old school man where I think all the points should count. And but the thing about it is that everybody races this and everybody knows this. So going in, I'm looking at it is no way to really handicap. I just look at all the teams that's been doing good at the last 3 or 4 races, and that's what you got to take off. Like Billy Torrance is hot right now. Mike Salinas' car is running exceptionally well. I mean, that car is going to be a threat in the countdown for sure. And then Steve-O always runs consistent and efficient. So that's the main thing, and he's the one that everybody's got his sights on because he's number one. But I tell you one thing is that our Macro Tool boys have been putting the work in, and we're peaking at the right time. And I like our chances that we got going in, and our two teammates with Tony Schumacher with the Army car and Leah with the Pennzoil car. I mean, they're looking strong too. There's a lot of people, and Clay Milliken, he can drop low ET on somebody at any given moment. You kind of don't. It's one of those deals where he runs exceptionally well, and we're about to get to the tracks now where it's going to get tight and right to where he's going to be able to, like Davey over there, is going to be able to unleash what he can unleash. But I think that there's a lot of cars that got some for him now. Like the Salinas' are running really well, and Doug Coletta came on just went to the deal, and Terry McMillan. I mean, there's so many great cars, and Brittany Force, the last year's champ. I mean, she threw down a 74 against us at Brainerd. Okay, so she dropped low ET of the round. It was just that we nipped her out with just a little bit better package, all together package. So I mean, if they get on the right side of it and get going, I mean, who's ever going to get hot for these 6 races is going to bring the championship home. And I don't think there's anybody that's a definite favor for it right now.
I love it. Antron, thank you so much for coming on WFO Radio. Greatly appreciate it. We'll see you out there in Reading. I know you're headed to Chi-Town for the big trade show. Thank you for taking the time here on WFO. Have a good time out there, and if you encounter any of our people, I apologize in advance for what they say.
Anytime, Joe. Love being on, buddy.
Antron Brown with us on WFO Radio. Caught up with AB and just did a great job. Always have such a fun time when Antron is on the show. Big personality, great guy, and I'm thinking, Alan was talking about how Steve Torrance, it's his championship to go out there and win. I'm thinking about the Matco guys. Not that the Capco boys are not great. They are. But it's my job to think about who could jump up and make a move. And this team can make a move. And they sound like they got some confidence going on. So good job by Antron. Thanks for coming on. Big thanks to the folks at Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants for coming on board WFO Radio. We got Matt Smith. We got Stevie Fast. John DiBartolomeo, Johnny D. Spoke with Johnny D for nearly an hour. Thinking about making it its own thing, but we'll probably have Johnny D at the tail end of the show. Right now, Hussey Performance. Speaking of Pennsylvania, they're located in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. And David Allen, who personally inspects every single gasket that they ship, is waiting for your call. 724-318-8292. If it's something custom made, they can do it. Can they do it fast? Yes, typically less than a week. They want to help you make the race. They've got next-day shipping available. But most importantly, they are known for quality copper gaskets to your exact specs. Hussey stocks gaskets in increments of 1/1000th of an inch, and if they don't stock it, they can custom make it. Whatever it is. Is it a Honda? Is it a tractor? Is it a nitro burner? Is it a turbocharged Pro Mod? Is it a 455 Pontiac? What is it? They can make it. And the big thing that they want me to let you know is that the quality of the gasket is directly related to where and how you purchase the copper. And they have been doing it for over 40 years, so they know. 724-318-8292 or go to husseyperformance.net. One more thing, everything, machines, everything, made in America. What is better than that? husseyperformance.net. Big thanks to David Allen and Sean Bellemere with that Hussey Top Alcohol Funny Car, wins the U.S. Nationals and is looking really good for the title. Will they make it? That is a story we'll be following for the rest of the year. All right, when we come back, Stevie Fast Jackson, E3 Spark Plugs Pro Mod winner at the Big Go. Stevie Fast is next.
This is WFO Radio.
Your education. What are you doing? Look, I know you want to become an engine builder. I know you want to work in a machine shop. I know you know that is a very in-demand position, but you think you could probably learn it by hanging around the shop. The way to do it is to go the School of Automotive Machinist and Technology route. samtech.edu, where you can do all of those things except get an accredited education by real racers, where they don't sponsor race cars. Their cars are the curriculum. samtech.edu. Motorsports is exploding around the world. It is a job that cannot be outsourced. In fact, they might ship you in to work on their stuff. That's how in demand the job is. Engine builder, machinist, motorsport EFI, they do it all. Check them out, samtech.edu.
It ain't just wide open, it's WFO.
Hey, this is Jeff Rice, deep and hot from up by Savannah, Georgia. I just wanted to let you guys know that WFO rules.
Joe, this is Jay Bird, truck driver from Big Bear, California.
WFO rocks.
Oh, don't forget, WFO rules the airwaves.
WFO!
Hey, racers and race fans, I want to tell you about the motorsports guys. Terry McMillan from Elkhart, Indiana, has got a new venture, and we want you to hit the website. They've got all kinds of great new parts, pieces, filters, oils on there, including Amelie's new Pro Racing 70 oil with Molly. It's used by many professional drag racers, including Terry McMillan, for larger turning curves and avoiding those drop cylinder moments. It saves bearings and crankshafts and provides more compression with better ring seal and less fuel in your oil. You can get it at motorsportsguys.com. We'll carry Amelie, they carry Wolf's Head Oil and Lubricants, Molly Filters, K&N Filters, All-Star Performance Racing, and high-performance parts from Motor State Distributing and Lane Automotive. It's going to be a one-stop shop. They're going to have it all. But most importantly, oil, Amelie, better than it has to be since 1903, available at motorsportsguys.com. Check it out. Bookmark it, motorsportsguys.com. Terry McMillan stepping up as a supporter of WFO Radio. Check him out, motorsportsguys.com.
WFO Radio is brought to you in part by Extreme Velocity 3 Drag Racing. Download for your mobile device. Win your way on the show. WFO.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
NHRA Nitro, WFO Radio. You know, I've been telling you about the holidays, and I'm hitting you with the holidays, and you're thinking, Joe, it's only September, the holidays, stop it. But you know Home Depot is about to put out the holiday stuff. You know the Christmas trees are coming out. It's already Halloween in there. And what I'm telling you is you need to think outside the box for your holiday gift this year for the most special of special. We're talking about Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure. Yes, the thrill of a lifetime, something that the person who receives it will always remember it forever. The time they drove a dragster and they accelerated to 130 miles per hour, that they did a burnout with a big block Chevrolet sitting behind them. Very few people get to do that. We're talking about for your spouse or for your kids or for someone who wants to understand your fandom of drag racing. Like, why do you like this stuff? Dragster Adventure. Or your clients or your sales team. Now, granted, it is a slightly more pricey. Courses start at $399, but we're talking about something they'll remember forever. And in our WFO audience, I think we've got a lot of people who do that. One of our listeners, Dave, and wife Amy, or Special Lady Amy, she got him the gift, and he went on the Dragster Adventure, and he loved it. He loved it. And so very, very interesting how it all works out when you give someone an experience as opposed to a thing. Go to frankhawley.com and check it out. Frank and Lana Hawley have been with WFO Radio for a very long time, and we've been sending our listeners on the Dragster Adventure for a long time. Now, maybe you want a super gas license. You can definitely do that. But for our podcast listeners, I really think the 0 to 60 in 3 seconds is enticing. 866-480-7223. Make it a gift for the holidays. Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure. Joining us now, we've got to take a step back to the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. It wasn't that long ago, and in the E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified Series, we had a mega win, the kind that people will be talking about for a long, long time. Joining us now, Stevie Fast Jackson. Stevie, welcome back to WFO. How are you?
Hey, Joe. How's it going, man? I'm doing good.
Going great for me. We are getting ready for the NHRA Countdown. Got our eyes on Maple Grove, Pennsylvania. There's a hurricane out there in the ocean that may cause us some trouble, but we're not thinking about that.
Woo, I hate to be all flying into Atlanta or something in the next couple of days. It's going to be a little bumpy.
Yes, exactly. But, hey, I wanted to catch up with you on your win because, it was emotional. It was fun. It was unlikely given qualifying. And I wanted to see a couple weeks later how you're feeling having accomplished this feat.
Man, feel like $1 million. They always say that if you want to win one, and you only get to pick one, you want to win Indy. I've had my sights on wanting to just race Indy forever. Last year was our first time running the U.S. Nationals. We got crushed. It was the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and it was awesome to turn. Everybody loves a comeback story. So the guy that, I'm going to tell you a secret, the guy that makes the comeback in the ninth inning never loves it until it's over with. But it was cool to do it. I'm glad we were fortunate enough to get that. Had a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, and it worked out.
That is the way that many wins go. They're not all dominating. Let's go back to where the comeback story began, which was Charlotte. And you tore up your car that was running so well and caused you to have to, take evasive action just to compete. And you had to bring out the shadow. Let's go back to that. That was, you were running real well. You're running for the championship at that point, and you lose a car. I don't know if our listeners fully understand, since on the NASCAR side of things, they just kind of roll another one out. You know what I mean? It's not like that necessarily in drag racing.
Well, especially like in our class, not only does budget prevent us from doing a lot of that, but for one, Pro Mod's pretty expensive to build. We had the old car, the red and white car, completely sorted out. Like, I could drag that thing up there. I could pretty much call my shot, knew what it was going to run. We'd made a bunch of laps in it. And when you've got that thing figured out like that, it makes it easy to race. You're talking about running for a championship. Before the crash, that was absolutely all I was thinking about. And we tore that thing up. We didn't tear that thing up. I tore that thing up. And then we had, in a short time frame, I think we had to race Topeka 2 weeks after that. My options were pretty much limited. The only car that I had laying around was my radial tire car. So everybody asks me why it's taken so long to get the Shadow running good. It ran on big tires before. Why is it taking so long? That thing was built to be a radial tire car. It's not optimal to run during the day. And the big tire Pro Mod racing that we've done on it, which was very limited, was, PDRA style prep, very good racetracks at night, and it runs well on that. It's just taken me and Billy a little longer than what we thought to get it sorted out. Changing that car in the middle of the season was a huge deal. Just getting it legal for competition was a huge deal. But to see the fruit of that finally pay off is a large testament to my crew and to our perseverance and resilience and keep going.
To be successful at the highest level in any form of motorsport really requires a specialty. And that sounds like what you're telling us is that you had to take a car that was specialty in another form and sort it. And that's what's been happening these past couple of weeks. Did you ever think that this might not work out? Like, man, this car is not going to be good enough for this.
Well, definitely that it's not good enough. I just didn't know if we'd run out of time before I figured it out. Like, for instance, that thing was built to be a radial versatile world car and a backup to the NHRA car. There's some things that you do to run in a specialty class like drag. That thing's been 366 at 202 miles an hour on street tires on a set of 315s with no wheelie bars. So generally, to get it to do that requires making some changes that aren't optimal for what we do running during the day on a 130-degree track. After we DNQ'd Norwalk, I was beating my head against the wall. Billy's like, what are you doing? Like, literally beating my head against the wall, not figuratively. Picture me on the side of the trailer beating my head in the wall. I was like, man, I don't know if we're going to get it. Like, by the time we get this car sorted out, we're going to be fired. We're not going to have a job. So, yes, there were times where I thought, this just isn't going to work out. Let's stop, regroup. More than one time I thought about, hey, I'm just going to take the rest of the year off and get this thing figured out. We got a new car being built that'll be done at the end of the season, and we'll just kind of take off next year. But every once in a while you'll get a you'll get a win like this. It kind of re-energizes you and re-energizes your team. It was a well-timed win. We needed it.
Well, I want to talk to you about the celebration. Billy came over to me and volunteered some information. That it's just incredible stuff. But let's talk about the round by round and qualifying in that. You struggled, not just you. The thing about E3 Sparkplugs Pro Mod is that there's going to be a whole bunch of people that go home every week. Some are going to be great. Some are going to be good. They just missed it on a given day. You just don't know. Qualifying is a race within a race. And you got down to the very last session, and nobody was really jumping up in there, but you were able to do it, make the field 13th. And that was like the gasp of relief that you needed.
Oh, absolutely. The way that NHRA E3 Pro Mod Racing is, you don't even have to make a bad run. It's just it's the timing of the run. If you make a bad run in the wrong session, you can make great runs compared to everybody else in all the other sessions, but it won't be fast enough. So generally, there's 1 or 2 runs during qualifying when the air's good, just like Pro Stock. If those 35 Pro Stock cars, they would have to make that perfect run in those good conditions to be in. Our field doesn't reset. They don't just take the top 12. They take all 16. So it's really easy to mess up, way easier than what people realize. Plus, you've got, like you said, you've got 20 guys, 15, 20 guys that are very good at what they do going home. So when you have that kind of talent, it's easy to mess up. When we went into E5, I'll be honest with you, I'm a realist. I told my guys and Billy, there's no way this thing's going to go up here and run what we're trying to run. Because we couldn't go up there and try to run a 589 or 588, which would have still been a good run for that session. I made some really crazy Hail Mary changes to the car, like that we've never tried before for that run. And I just knew that if we drug it up there, it was going to go 990, 60 foot. It was going to run a 588 or 589. Everybody be happy because it went down the track and we get to pack up and go home early. And I told Billy I'd rather sit there and smoke the tires like a funny car right off the starting line than to do that, than to go a 589. So it was a Hail Mary pass from about my own 20-yard line, and somebody just laid up there and caught it, I guess.
And then that happens, and it happens, and you were fired up, which was great. Got to speak with you down there. Cool that there was a Q5. There isn't always. And now you're thinking about first round on Monday of the U.S. Nationals, and that is pretty impressive stuff. You got to go up against the defending race winner, Sidney Frigo, in one of those turbo cars.
Yeah, absolutely. And the first round was actually on Sunday night. So 2 hours after we qualified, we've got to run first round. I was in no way mentally, emotionally, or physically prepared to actually compete in the race car. And that's kind of the story that nobody really can understand unless you're a driver, is like qualifying is all about staging the car, shallow. Don't overdrive it, make a smooth run and get in the field. Then you got to flip that switch when it's time to race and go race. Well, when your car runs like ours was, you're just not ready to race. Like there's zero confidence in your horse. There's zero confidence in yourself. So I had 2 hours to completely, like when we rolled into the pits and took the front end off, I looked at the guys and I said, crap, now we've got to actually race this thing. And they're like, well, heck yeah, we're going to race it. So I was like, all right, let's go race it. So I set my practice tree up and took a bunch of hits at it and had the guys slap me around, did some push-ups in the trailer. It took a little bit to get focused. When I ran Sydney last year, I took Sydney lightly. They had just tore up an engine in qualifying. They were late getting up there for E1. He beat me on a hole shot. And you can't take anybody lightly in this field. I was amped up and ready to run that guy this time. I mean, it was. I knew that it was going to be a battle. When you race pro line, there's got a lot of data, a lot of money, and a lot of people working on that stuff. So you got to bring your best to the starting line.
And he left on you anyway with a 008. You're 018 though, and that was very important. You left right with him. But just to illustrate the point, this guy's good. This guy didn't win this race for no reason. 008.
Right. There's nobody that races over here that's not good. I remember when I started running this class last year, laughing at how slow some people were on the tree. And, it would be routine for these guys to go 40 and 60 on the tree. Well, there's not a lot more ET to get. Everybody's gotten good and it's tight. It's common now to see those 00s. Jose went 003 or 006 or something in the finals. It's very common. If you go up there and you're 30 or 40, you're probably going to leave second. So yeah, he left on me, but he turned loose. I seen that white thing out there, and I was like, oh no.
Second, but you got the win, though. He had a problem, had to shut off. You uncork another 584, and so got to be feeling pretty good. And then you get to rest easy and get ready for Monday race day, where you would run Bob Ram and his nitrous Camaro. In that run, an 83.5. He was an 89. He was a little late off the tree. And so now something different is happening, because now you're going rounds at the Nationals. Were you feeling comfortable at that point?
I wasn't feeling comfortable because of who we had to race next, but we were in our stride. When you go DNQ 2 races like we did, you forget what it feels like to get in that stride. I always say that the first round is hard. After that, you start rolling. Crew chiefs are getting in sync with the guys. I'm driving the car good. It's fast-paced and it's happening. There's not a lot of time to think about it. When we went up there to race Bob Ram, we did not take him lightly. He had just won an 82. In E1 and loaded up the points leader, and he's been having an awesome weekend. They got that thing running good. So we went up there and to try to chop that man's head off. He didn't run quick as what we thought he would. When we outrun him, I realized, okay, now we've got the number one qualifier, one of my heroes, and arguably the best alcohol blown crew chief ever to walk the earth in the semis. So while we were joyous, I was like, great, now we got to go against. It was hard enough to get in the field. Then we slayed the defending champion. Then we just crushed the guy who I think went low ET in E1. And now we're going to get to go up there and run the baddest blower car here, the number one qualifier. So there was no rest and easy, but I felt confident.
He was 21, you were 14. He was 85, you were 84. So left first, took the stripe against Mike Castellano and Frank Manzo to go to the finals at the Nationals. I can't imagine that was lost in any way on you.
Oh, absolutely not. We were my guys always count on me to bail us out up there when we need it. And Billy told me on the radio rolling in, he said, I need you to get this. If you go 20 on the tree, we're going to have to go home. Like, this guy's fast. We were counting on him going a 79 or a 80. And when those guys believe in me and get me that fired up on the radio, it makes me perform well. When you have a great light, like when you go 014 like we did, you know it. Like when you leave the starting line, I look over to make sure the red light isn't on, because when you have that good of a light, you just know it. But at the same time, he was 21, so we let go, and I see his nose locked with mine, and I was like, oh, no, we're going to need it. Come on, baby. And you glimpse over at him a couple times, and then when you get down there 8 miles to 1,000 foot, it's keep it in the groove, don't wiggle it around. So I didn't know I had won right away. The chutes came out. The car was bouncing around a little bit, so I didn't see the wind light. There was a second of radio silence, and I was like, oh, no, we got crushed. Because, immediately when you look over, he's there. I mean, the margin of victory was a foot or something like that. And then Billy's like, you got him on the radio. Jack's like, you got him. They all keyed up, and I was hot rodding then. I was ready to go win the race.
You're going to the finals at the Nationals, something that drag racers, kids playing drag racing in the driveway dream about. And now it's about to happen. In your way, Jose Gonzalez, who is relatively new on the scene, but he's got the best stuff. He's a great guy, excellent racer. Very happy to be there also, enjoying every minute of it. That's my perception of the deal. And he's standing in your way, and you got the shadow and all this work and all this story and all this extra. And Billy was like, he told me, he was like, man, I wasn't even really supposed to be here. And all of this extra stuff. And you got to be thinking about some of it as you're getting ready for the final round. Take me through that. Like, hey, guys, this is it for us. We got a shot to win the Nationals.
When we realized we were going to the final, it's kind of surreal. I have a bad tendency of, when I go in my mind, the semifinals, that was Goliath. That was the giant, right? Number one qualifier. When you outrun them as a driver, it's easy to not on purpose, but it's easy to, in your mind, say, okay, it's done. And then you ease up on the next round. And there's no doing that against Jose. He had just went a 79 the run before that one. And when I crashed the car in Charlotte, I was trying to beat Jose. So this was like a replay for me. And I told Jose before the run, I was like, all right, no matter what happens here, nobody's going to hit anything. We went up there with everything we had loaded in the thing. And emotionally, you just can't think about it. You go up there and you just make a test run. A wise man once told me that what we do when you're up there in the car is just a job. And that's the way I approach those big rounds, big money grudge races, final rounds. It's a job. Put all your emotions in check. You can cry about it in 2 minutes when it's over. Suck it up and try to win, and that's what we did.
Wow. And to hear, big money grudge races, those kind of things, you handled it, but is this got to be the biggest race of your life, I'm imagining?
Absolutely. It would be the biggest race of my life if we qualified number one, went low ET every round and won, but it's far bigger to have the fairy tale Cinderella story. You've been around drag racing a long time. You know how this works 99% of the time. Most of the time, if you're going to the last session and you've never made it to a run even representative of the class going into the final session, there's always that hope, but you're going home. I mean, I've been there, and you see it time and time again. Very rarely do we get to see Cinderella come out and put her dancing dress on for the finals, especially in Indy.
So,
and I'm proud to get that win for my guys. I'm proud to get that win for the car. I think my car was starting to hate me a little bit, but she's got a good attitude now.
Now, the run didn't go exactly as I would have imagined. Him going 79, you going 82, he leaving on a hole shot, you taking the win. That's not what happened at all. You both had issues, had to pedal the car. 616 is the winning ET. The chutes are out early, and I want to know, why? Was that, some people speculated, oh, man, you threw the laundry out because you knew you were getting there. But he was coming on strong. I don't know if you had that feeling. Can you take me through it?
But the reason the chutes came out is because Billy tried to kill me out there and tried to make that thing run about a 572. It got up on the wheelie bar really hard. I mean, I told him, I said, if you want to be aggressive, you want to take a shot at it, you take a shot at it right here. So that was more of an aggressive tune-up than what we've ran, and it just carried the front end way too high, way too long, and went left. When it set the tires down, it was a foot off the wall. It was in the gravel. It skated around once. I fought it. It skated around twice, and I thought I was going to hit the wall. I pulled the chute, straightened the car out. I burnt the throttle again. I mean, I'm still right next to the wall. I look over, and I don't see him, and then I'm like, okay, please don't come around me. And then here, right when I'm going through the lights, here he comes. I mean, I think he was 400 or 500 behind, but when you're traveling 30 miles an hour faster than I am, he's coming. And Billy's screaming on the radio, Jack's screaming on the radio, you got him, you got him. And it took a while for it to sink in. I rolled off the racetrack, and, of course you're emotional, but it was 2 or 3 hours after that before it sunk in that we'd actually won that deal.
And that's why I waited a week to talk with you, because it's just not understanding the reality of it. I've noticed that most racers, they don't really get it. And then, a week later, it's like, wow, man, this is permanent. This is a permanent thing. You won the U.S. Nationals.
Right, right. For me, I don't know what the future holds. Don't know if we'll ever win another race. Don't know if we'll ever win a championship. But forever, for me, no matter how much we win, it'll say Stevie Fast Jackson, X-time champion, U.S. Nationals winner. And for me, that's as big as it gets, man. I am excited. I wish if they had pro mods in Reading, I'd be sitting at the gate right now waiting on y'all to get there. I'm ready to go racing. This has energized my team. It has energized our sponsor. We've got a lot of fans who have been, when we don't run good, it's not just us that have to take it on the chin. We got a lot of people, a lot of outlaw racers, a lot of fans, a lot of grudge racers that pull for us. We're their face over here. We come from humble beginnings. We grew up grudge racing and match racing all over the Southeast and around the country. And when we get crushed, these guys get crushed too. So now you're starting to see, my fans and my people starting to get their swagger back a little bit. I was in Huntsville, Alabama this weekend tuning a car, and I can't tell you how many people come up to me and they said, man, we're glad we can poke our chest out again and walk around now that you're running good again. So it's good for all those people to get to stand behind us. I'm excited.
I'm glad you told me that. I was wondering about that and even speculating, because we spoke when you first came over about the cult, the drag radio cult, and all the people that really view you as, like a blue collar guy who's doing what they, would love to do. And you've got a legion of people that are interested. And honestly, I was wondering, are they still with you? Do they care? Do they think that you're some NHRA guy now and they're not into it? Or are they still out there following? I wanted to know, how they are handling this transition where you're battling at this NHRA event. on a regular basis and maybe doing a little bit less of that stuff because this is so hard and challenging? And are they, do they get that this is the biggest possible win on the planet?
Absolutely. Believe me, they get it. And anybody that knows me, that really knows me, has spent any time with me, knows that I'm still the same guy I was 15 years ago. Racing changes a lot of people. Life changes a lot of people. I'm still the same kid who wanted to race cars for a living. They get that. I wish I could go to a lot more of the outlaw stuff and the radial stuff than what I'm going to. It kills me not be there. There's just simply not enough time. Running NHRA, it's all encompassing, and that's the best way I can describe it. You're competing against people who will do whatever it takes to win. So you have to have that mentality. All of my skill set, I give credit to grudge racing and running on some of the racetracks that we used to have to run on against some of the people. Like there is as good or better drivers, grudge racing and match racing, than there is in NHRA. And having to compete against those guys and race those guys for $100,000 or $500, it's a final round every time. And I've always given a lot of credit to that. But they haven't went anywhere. They're behind me. And we start to get a little loud and rowdy when we start running good. You'll see a little bit more of it.
And that's great, and that's what we want. And I just thought it was great. I was able to speak with you a couple of times down there, getting out of the car, and just watch it happen. That's one of the big U.S. Nationals moments from 2018, and I appreciate you recapping it here. Now, next race out, AAA Insurance Midwest Nationals out there at Gateway, St. Louis. Here we go again. I know it's a couple of weeks away still. We're headed to Reading, but, the championship goes on. You're trying to climb as high as possible. I don't know if you can climb all the way, but you never know if you win out.
Well, we'll see. It's a long shot. Everybody's talking about it. It's not something that I even care to put a lot of thought into. My job's to qualify and go rounds. At the end of the day, we'll see where we're at. We'll start worrying about that when it's a little closer. Some phenomenal things would have to happen to try to win that. But our goal is to be definitely top 5. I'd love to be top 2 or 3. And in a Hail Mary circumstance, we'll go for it. But just to be able to be relevant, DNQing, I'm not used to DNQing races, and we're not used to running bad. So at least we're a threat now. That helps you out a little bit. And we haven't had good blower air this year. I don't know if you've been watching the forecast, but right now it's looking pretty good on the 15-day for St. Louis. So what we need, I told everybody last week, I need it to be just warm enough to where the water box doesn't freeze. It needs to be about 38 degrees and about 10 grains so the blower cars can run good. But hopefully we'll get some 67-degree weather. It's been a hot summer, and I'd love to go into the last couple races with my guns drawn and blazing.
There you go. Steve, thank you so much. I really appreciate you laying it out there for us at the event and here on WFO Radio. This is why we do the show, so we can go back and debrief and understand what went down. And now I know. I thought it was a great win. The crowd went wild. Everybody loved it. It was a lot of fun. Great entertainment, and that's what this is. So thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Steve. Steve Jackson with us here on WFO Radio, U.S. Nationals winner. And great thrill to be able to interview him after the win down there in the Parade of Champions. Great stuff. So enthusiastic, that whole team. Like, they're great guys. And I want to see him in Top Fuel. That's it. Everybody knows this, but you got to beat the drum over and over again. Next Top Fuel ride that comes open, Stevie Fast Jackson should be considered. That's all. That's all. How about somebody starting up another team? 2-car team. You get Stevie Fast as one of your drivers and let him go out there and talk smack on everybody and be himself. I think it would be great. It would be great for the sport. It would be a whole lot of fun. Whole lot of fun. Got the job done at Indy. Got it done. And Pro Mod, very interesting. They are tied in points. Mike Janis and Ricky Smith tied at the top of the points. And it's not over yet. If they were both to lose first round, you never know. It just seems unlikely. And we'll have Matt Smith on later on in the show to talk a little bit, obviously, about his countdown. But we'll ask him about Tricky Ricky. But right now, I want to tell you about CatSpotLitter.com. Here's the deal. Do you have a cat? CatSpot Litter is an organic litter. It's made out of coconuts. It's like smells refreshing and nice. And it absorbs and all of that stuff that you need in a litter. Plus, it's easily disposable. And for my money, like, what is the best part about CatSpot Litter is that they support drag racing. It's litter. okay? Your cat will love it. And they support Scott Palmer, and they support WFO, and they support Jeff Deal, and so many people involved in the sport, Ricky House, because of cat litter. So if you have got a cat, go to catspotlitter.com. Now, there are other benefits, like it's easily disposable, and it absorbs the, a horrible odor, and all of that. It's biodegradable. It's replaceable because it's all natural. But the subscription is the best part about it. You go to catspotlitter.com, you order it up, it arrives at your door. You're not lugging around a bag, you're not carrying anything around, it's just easy. And everybody loves easy. Now, let's say you don't have a cat, you're down with it, but you don't have a cat. Magic Dry. Magic Dry is the non-cat version of this stuff. And it's great for your shop or your garage. Go to catspotlitter.com to find out more information. Big thanks to Scott Palmer, Tommy Thompson, and the Catspot Company for supporting WFO Radio. Go to catspotlitter.com. When we come back, Matt Smith, talk a little pro stock motorcycle. Let's see. We got a pro mod guy. We got two top fuel guy. We got a funny car guy. We got a pro stock guy. We got a pro stock motorcycle guy. We got everything. That's WFO.
It ain't just wide open. It's WFO.
Hey, race fans, this is Joe Castello here to tell you about RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. The summer is over. Winter is coming. Make sure you can wake up every day in the cold winter with a cup of Rodax coffee by going to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or give him a call. Marvin Rodak, a big WFO radio listener, NHRA fan down there in Fort Worth, Texas, 817-924-6821. They have got over 40 single original coffees to choose from, plus custom special blends like WFO Radio Blend or Bang the Blower. It's what everybody's talking about. Get some for yourself. All specialty grade coffee represents the top 5% of coffee grown in the world. They're all roasted fresh per order. And there are limited edition seasonal and rare micro lots of coffee available. They've got exotics like Sumatra Kopi Luwak, Panama Geisha, Australia, the Hawaii Kona coffee. They've got it all. Get on the phone, 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com.
Hey, WFO Universe. Want something for free? Send a self-addressed stamped envelope with plenty of postage, and we'll load it up with free WFO stickers. That's right, I said free. Send your envelope, care of Castello Media /WFO stickers to P.O. Box 848353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084. Do it now.
Hey, everybody, this is Joe Castello. When I'm at the racetrack, I am always checking out the cars to see what's hot, what's cool, what is the nicest and best and most effective piece out there. And what I am finding is that the folks at Aerospace Components have got it going on. They've been in business for over 30 years. Everything is made in America, and they are family-owned and operated. Aerospace Components is a name known throughout the racing industry as one of the leaders in manufacturing high-performance drag racing products. And if you go to their website right now, Aerospace Components, you can check out exactly what I'm talking about. Check it out. That's aerospacecomponents.com. Let them know you heard it on WFO.
This is Sean from Traverse City, Michigan. You ever get done with an episode of Ignition or Nitro and say, man, that's a good job. I'd like to give them a pat on the back and a cold beer. Well, with Patreon, you can. So send that drink down to Gio and Joe.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Rolling again. We keep on trucking. I told you this show is going to get you going a long, long way, and we're going to have Johnny D on at the tail end. I've decided. Johnny D, baby. But right now, I want to get back to audible.com/WFO Nitro. All kinds of great reasons why you can enjoy audible.com/WFO Nitro. Membership includes one free audiobook a month, exclusive sales, 30% off regularly priced audiobooks. Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from leading audiobook publishers. broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. You guys already listen. You're listeners. You like to listen like I do. I learn from listening. Free apps for iPhone, iPad, Android, and Windows Phone. You can download and listen on iOS and Android. They got Amazon Fire Tablet app as well. And unlike streaming or a rental service, with Audible, you own your books. That is the biggest part. Plus, there's the Great Listen Guarantee. You didn't like it? That was not good. You can swap it. Go to audible.com/WFO Nitro. Check it out, lowercase, /WFO Nitro. Audible.com/WFO Nitro. Now, on to Pro Stock Motorcycle. Joining us now, he will be running for the NHRA Mellow Yellow Championship in Pro Stock Motorcycle. He's got a new body. He's running really, really well. Matt Smith joins us now. Matt, welcome back to WFO. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Joe?
I'm great. We talked about the new body over the course of the season. You got the new body, and the results have been there in qualifying, and it looks like, the bike has got what it takes. As, a couple of things have tripped you up. Tell me how you feel going into this final 6 races. Do you think you can win the championship?
Yes, I think we can win the championship. I think the biggest thing is, we got the new body, and the body is definitely better than the Magnum that we had. The rear fender on the Magnum was really holding us back. I don't know how much better the body is over the current Buell stuff until, I compare apples to apples, but it is definitely better. And I do think that we can win this championship. We've been number one qualifier the last 2 races. We've had the quickest and fastest bike on the property, and we've just had a problem on Sunday. And basically I have narrowed it down to it's just something in my combination when it gets 3,400 feet or worse air. And, I've just got to change some stuff when it gets that bad of air.
And you've said it. You've been very open about it. Everybody who's got ears can hear. The bike bogs pretty much off the line, and you lose a little time and come up short.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's my combination that I'm running, and when it gets that bad of air, and basically it's when we flip-flop and we run behind top fuel, funny car, and pro stock car, the track just has a little bit more bite than it does in qualifying. And it hurts me. And that's why it's not affecting me in qualifying, but it's affecting me on Sunday. And, I know what to change on it now. We went and tested yesterday, and I know what the problem is. And we will correct that at the rest of the races. And, we probably won't have that problem anyway because, Reading, St. Louis, Charlotte, they're all going to be, probably 3,000 feet or less air anyway. So I'm not going to have that problem. But Vegas, it might show up, but like I said, I know what to do, and we've got it fixed now.
That is great. That's great to know. And earlier in the show, we heard from Rick Jones, Erica's crew chief from Elite, and you now have kind of I would love to know how you describe it. Is it a partnership? Are you part of the Elite team? I don't know. But Rick was telling us about sticking the tire in a pro stock car and how it doesn't like a lot of glue on the starting line, and they want to build a little wheel speed. And it sounds like you're in a similar situation.
Same thing. Yeah, the bike has to jump up on the tire. Then you want to control the tire. But it definitely has to jump up on the tire and get some tire speed, the first foot and a half. Then you can slow it back down, and it'll accelerate and go. But if it just dead sticks the tire and hooks the tire, it bogs the motor with the gears that we're running right now. And especially when you're in that bad of air, you don't have the horsepower that you normally do, and it just tugs the motor. And Brainerd and Indy, both times I lost in eliminations, it pulled the motor down to 3,600 RPMs, which is it just does not want to pull out from that low RPM.
Interesting. Now, you and Angie both made the countdown. It was dicey for Angie as one of the great emotional moments. We can say that now because she made it, right? It's one of the great emotional moments. Something going wrong with that bike on the starting line, just kind of stuck between gears, and she had to wait it out to see if she would make the countdown, which she did in 9th, only 90 points out. You are 60 points behind Eddie, and everybody has new life all of a sudden. It's wide open headed to the Grove.
Yeah, hopefully we get to run there this weekend, with the rain and the hurricane and everything's coming in. But, The first goal to go up there is to go up there and make a pass. And, I really think if the air is right, that we'll run 200 and become the third member of the 200-mile-an-hour club. And then the next goal is to try to win the race. That's the two goals that I have set up there. I don't care where I qualify, but we want to run 200 if the air's right, and we want to, go and win this race. And if we do that, then we're going to cut our lead, within 40. We'll probably cut it within 30 or 20 points of the number one spot. So that's our goal going into there. And to back up and say the partnership on the elite thing, I forgot to say that, is I've been working with Elite the last 3 years on motor stuff, and, it was just one of them deals. I didn't have a sponsor, and Richard said, hey, I'll buy this body for you if you stick my name on the bike, for the rest of the year. And so that's what we've done, So he purchased that new EBR body for me, and I'm running the Elite, banner on the back of the bike.
And gorgeous paint scheme, by the way. If Travis Hess hadn't won Best Appearing at the U.S. Nationals, there were a couple of machines that are just incredible. And you have one of them. Mark Paquette got a great paint scheme as well. But your bike, really, really nice. And I guess it was painted locally?
Yeah, Jody Goodwill, SMR Paints here in Elko, North Carolina. He painted my bagger, and he does all the DME stuff, and he really knocked it out of the park. I mean, I just told him I wanted it red, candy apple red, and he did everything else. So, phenomenal job on his part.
Wow. Now, what about you've won the Countdown in the past. You obviously are aggressive and you want to win this first race. That's important. Whoever wins the first race has got a leg up on the competition, definitely. But you don't have to win the first race to win the championship. And I've been thinking about it a lot in that, there's going to be the year where 2 or 3 people have great countdowns and win multiple races. And then there's going to be the year where everybody kind of steps on their foot and, loses first round a couple of times. Regardless, someone is the champion at the end. What do you think it's going to take this year?
Well, I think the big factor is, between the 2 Harleys are always a factor. Ellie's a factor. And, Rana Jr. is a factor because he's got a fast bike. So I think between those 5 people is, that's who it's going to come down to is one of those. When you look at the big picture, the way I'm running and the way Hector Jr. is running and Eddie, that's going to be probably your 1, 2, 3 spots in qualifying order. So, in my opinion, if me or Junior can be number 1 and we catch up the Harleys where they got to meet each other in the second round like we did at Indy, then we're eliminating another person that's in that playoff. So that's what's big about qualifying is we got to position ourselves to where those 2 Harley guys meet up second round or third round against each other, and then we know one of them's not going to advance. So we've just got to do our part and qualify good and play the strategy that needs to be played to do what's right. But ultimately, we're going out there to win races, and that's what I'm going to try to do is win 2 to 3 races in this countdown and run for this championship.
It's kind of interesting to think about in that you're not talking about teammates, but everybody versus the Harleys. Like, you have to max your performance because if they qualify 1 and 2, it becomes very difficult to stop them from going to the final round, one or the other. But if it doesn't have to be you, it could be Hector Jr. that takes over number 1, but they need to be pushed down in the qualifying order.
Correct. And that's what you got to look at. In the past, they've always had the fastest stuff, and, they qualify 1 and 2, and they're on opposite sides, so they can't ever meet to the finals, even if they're 1 and 3. But now, with me running as fast as I am and Hector Jr. running like he does, we have the opportunity to make them, where they meet up in the second or third round instead of letting them be on opposite ladders to where they meet up in the finals. And that's what's got to happen. We've got to do our part and do that.
That is very interesting. No, I appreciate that. That's racecraft right there and some of the strategy of drag racing. And I can't help but think about your dad, like you as you're growing up and learning that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, he is locked in a tie battle for E3 Sparkplugs Pro Modified. How cool is that? It's a tie.
Yeah, I mean, and there's, not to get into a lot of stuff on that, but a lot of stuff went down at Indy that shouldn't have went down probably. from a standpoint of, going on up there with teammates and, with the other competitors. And, basically, it's like my dad tried to explain to Mike Janis. He talked to him the other day, and he's like, look, he says, if I wanted to bring a team car out and, have a blocker out here, he said, I'd put my son in one. He said, but I'm not out here to do that. I'm out here to win this championship on my own and not have a blocker and not have nobody lay down for him. So, there's a lot going on there, and I think it's down to, I think two of them are mathematically, going for it, but I think ultimately there's four of them. The 1, 2, 3, and 4 points can do it if one of the 1 and 2 slip up a little bit.
Well, absolutely. Well, if your dad and Mike were to, let's say the $10 part breaks first round and they lose, and that happens, then suddenly Castellana, Khaled, even Stevie Fast, if they go on and win, you never know. It's just time is running out. And I really doubt the $5 part is going to bite your dad or Mike Janis.
Yeah, it basically boils down. It's between two sheiks over there. It's Bahrain and AAP that's running for this championship. If you look at those cars that are running for it, and so it's pretty big of what's going on over there. And my dad's been very fast and very successful this year. The problem is, if he wins first round, he goes on and goes to the finals and wins the race. Otherwise, he loses first round, and that's why the points are as tight as they are right now.
Do you think people even remotely understand this whole Sheik versus Sheik dynamic and like how big a deal it is to have these two guys who are extremely passionate about pro mod and drag racing? And like if it was 100 years ago, we would be talking about thoroughbred horses or something.
Yeah, I don't think the average fan, knows what's going on, but racers know. I mean, they know what the Al-Anabi has put in the NHRA over the last, 7-8 years. And Bahrain's been, pushing, the last 3 years over here. So, it's just a pride thing for over there, but those guys got a lot of money, and it's good that they at least spend money over here to help racers and out over here that need a sponsorship, and, one being my dad. So, we're very thankful for that, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal over there, and it's a big deal over here. So hopefully, him or Belushi or Stevie Fast can pull this off for him.
There you go. Now, didn't you just have a nuptials in your family? Did I see something on social media? There was a wedding?
No, my sister, they had their 10-year anniversary.
There you go. And Scott.
I think it was yesterday. Yes, Scott and Amanda.
There it is. So I saw the photographs from the wedding. I thought that was pretty cool. The ultimate racing family: a pro stock motorcycle racer, a pro mod racer, a former Formula One racer, just everybody around the Thanksgiving table at the Smith House. I always love thinking about that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild when we all get together and talk. We normally take Thanksgiving, we go to the beach and we're in a house and all the families get together and we all talk about racing stuff. So it's pretty fun, to go do stuff like that. Any
chance of getting Scott Speed on a pro stock motorcycle?
No, he has a hard time riding a scooter, just to let you know. I mean, he can drive anything with 4 wheels, but if you go to 2 wheels, he's not that good at it.
Got it. Copy. Got it. Matt, thank you for coming on WFO. Hey, good luck in the championship. This is what we wait for all year long, to see everybody battle it out at their best over 6 races to determine a champion. At this point, it could be any of the top 10. I wish you good luck.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Matt Smith with us here on WFO Radio. And, okay, everybody's a good guy, right? I get along with everybody. If you come to me, and people they come to me behind the scenes and they ask, like, everybody sounds nice, but who's not? And I really get along great with everybody. Now, maybe it's because I have the microphone and I have some semblance of power, so they don't cross me. But the answer is Matt and Angie are really nice people. And I love how Matt will just explain what's up. We did this. This is a problem. This is what was tripping us up, having issues. Love it. Talked a little pro mod as well. They got to qualify ahead of the Harleys and break up the Harley final round. They got to force the Harleys to race before the final. That's the strategy. Interesting. I think it is very interesting. They're thinking about it right now because the Harleys can go many, many rounds. Thanks to Matt for coming on the show. Big time stuff. Now, all right, we got one more segment to go. It would typically be my time, but what we're going to do is have a conversation with John DiBartolomeo, Johnny D, Division I Hall of Famer. And as many of you know, like I'm catching up with guests throughout the hours prior to the show. And Johnny D and I planned a 15-minute conversation, and it went long. And I'm warning you. But it's the kind of thing that I'm not cutting it off. We're talking pro stock, man. We're talking about the future of drag racing. We're talking about the youth, and are they interested in this? And where's the sport going to be in 20 years? Just a free-flowing stream of consciousness with John DiBartolomeo after a discussion about Drag Racing Edge magazine. And it is great stuff. Stick around for that. Before you do it, though, go download the new WFO app for iOS or Android. It's available in the Google Play Store. It's available in the App Store. You can get it on the website. Do it now. Write a review. You'll like it. We appreciate it. Back after this.
Everybody, listen carefully.
Now you listen to me. Why do you listen? WFO, you guys are number one. Honest. Listen.
Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman.
Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School. The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866-480-7223. Or visit frankhawley.com.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets. You got to call David directly. 724-318-8292. Hussey Performance Copperhead Gaskets for you engine builders out there. These guys are supporting WFO. Check them out. It is husseyperformance.net.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Drag Racing Edge. That's the magazine. Subscribe online. Get the issues, $24.95. Keep up with your favorite sport, whether it be NHRA Mellow Yellow, Lucas Oil Series action. They cover drag radial. They cover it all. Drag Racing Edge magazine.
Now, back to WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Final segment, WFO. The Dodge Nationals, the first race of the NHRA Countdown. All kinds of great stuff. Great stuff. I'm very excited about it. The playoffs, baby. Playoffs? Playoffs. Maybe the Miami Dolphins will go to the playoffs. Don't think so. But now I want to get into it. Joining us now, he is the editor of Drag Racing Edge magazine. He is also a Division I Hall of Famer. And he won a Wally this year in Norwalk. This guy's having a great 2018. John DiBartolomeo. Johnny D, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me. But, you know, you make me feel old every time you throw in that Hall of Fame thing.
Well, you should have talked to them before they nominated you. Hey, you want to hear something? You want to be one of the first people that I tell about this? Is that I, too, have been inducted into a Hall of Fame of sorts.
Well, great.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
Where's this? The Miami Hollywood Speedway, as in Miami Hollywood Dragway, Miami Hollywood Motorsports Park, the now defunct, no longer existing Miami Hollywood Speedway in Miami, Florida, Hall of Fame. And I will be inducted on September 30th. And I am
very cool.
I am not old. And so, look.
Well, that's very cool. Congratulations.
Feel better.
Glad to hear it.
That's why,
Yeah,
and
good.
it's great. The induction board notified me while I was at the U.S. Nationals, and I was working on the top end, at my workstation when the drivers get out and everything. You've seen me down there. And, I get a series of texts, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Here I am at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals, finding out that the track that I started out at, and, it's got a Hall of Fame. It no longer exists, but I'm going to be in there. And so I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. And I get to
That's good. You should be.
pad the resume. That's really what it's all about.
That's good.
Excellent.
No, but that's really cool that, you get known for stuff that you've done in the past, and that's what's cool about it.
Absolutely. Well, I miss the place till this day. Till right now, I don't know if you ever got to be down there, but Kevin McKenna had seen it, and Graham Light had been there, and John Force had raced there, and Jungle Jim was down there, and it's vacation land. So if you're a drag racer, why would you not want to go down there? Between 1967 and 1992, of course, people were down there.
No, I was down there one time. Yep, I remember it. Yep.
Very, very cool. Yeah, no, it was a super track before there were super tracks. All right, let's get into Drag Racing Edge magazine this month, and then we'll segue into a discussion of the U.S. Nationals and the Countdown. We're previewing the Countdown. We're headed to the Grove. That is your home track, yes? Like closest to where you are?
Yes, absolutely. Grew up there, raced there. We made the whole circuit around here, Englishtown, Island, Atco, Maple Grove. Maple Grove was always the funnest, if that's even a word I can use. It was just a really great place to race. It really was, and it still is to today.
And maybe about to get better because of the Bill Bader experience that we hear about. Hearing about it is one thing, having experienced what Norwalk is all about, but it is my understanding the Bader family has taken over Maple Grove as kind of like part of their thing, and they're going to, what would we call it, Baderify it.
They're doing a great job from what I hear, and I don't race, obviously. I don't race there locally at all. I haven't been there. We were there early in the year for a points race for a Division Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series event. But, from everything I hear from the local racers, they're doing an absolutely great job over there. They've really taken it over, and I guess maybe they haven't made it a total Baderfied track, if that's what you want to call it. But, it's on its way. It's going to be another Norwalk.
Wow. That is awesome. And the prospects of that, I'm happy to go there, and hopefully everybody, that is a goal, to elevate the place, because it's a classic place, and it's a lot of fun. But now it's positioning as the first race of the NHRA Countdown, I think is a good move. Whether, who knows what will happen, but we want intense fandom. We're coming in off the high of the U.S. Nationals, which I felt like was a great success. And typically we would go to Charlotte in the middle of NASCAR country, and they were, less enthusiastic than they are about the four-wide race. Let's just put it that way. Whereas at the Grove, they're going to pack the house, and they're going to love it.
The Maple Grove, they've moved this race a bunch of times. How many years is this for Maple Grove? I don't know, 30? I don't know.
Yeah, it's got. I don't know exactly, but it has to be many.
I've been to every one of them, and I remember back. It always was 2 weeks after the Grove. 2 weeks after Indy, forever. And we get rained on constantly. And I think the old track manager there, George Case, once told me that they got like 17 out of 20 years they got rained on. But the place was always packed. Rain or not, they packed that place. And I'd expect you're going to see the same thing this weekend here.
Well, I am hoping so. I am very excited about the Countdown. I want for every drag racing fan on the planet and every NHRA drag racing fan to understand what's about to happen, that everybody is about to be at their best, going for it, all at the same time. It's going to be awesome. You've got a new edition of Drag Racing Edge magazine out. Shane Westerfield is on the cover, along with Megan Meyer. And so the stars of the Lucas Oil Top Alcohol ranks all over the cover of Drag Racing Edge. Two young, hip personalities that are current and future faces of the sport.
They are. Megan, Megan's done a really great job, and so is Shane. I mean, both of them they're going to be powerhouses if they're not already.
Well, Shane is certainly a powerhouse, and Megan has done a great job. Third in the world last year. Who knows where she'll end up? She's battling for her regional championship, but really doing a good job of, setting herself apart.
Yeah, and I mean, how do you not do it when you got somebody like Randy Meyer getting behind you? Randy's been a powerhouse all his own, so.
Absolute fact. Now, I was surprised that we didn't see Shane at the big go. Sean Bellemeur goes on to take the win, but I also understand that Shane is going to make that charge the last couple of races. Vegas, Pomona, staying out west, all of that stuff. Indy is a tough claim. Everybody's there. Bellemeur goes on and wins it. Very interesting the way that all turned out.
Yeah, and Shane, Bellemeur, they all know. You got to play the points game because that's what they're looking for. They're looking to put that number one on their car. So they know that, Indy's a tough place to race at. Not that any of the others are any easier, but it's just, you got to position yourself in the right place to pick up the best points that you can.
In this edition, you've got a interview with Roland Leong. Obviously, the passing of the Mongoose kind of has focused the minds of our legends. We paid tribute out there at the U.S. Nationals. I was fortunate enough to be able to do a quick interview on Facebook Live with a whole row of the champs, and they all had their head in the right spot, and they were loving it and having a great time. It's horrific that we lose the Mongoose, but what seems to happen in moments like this is everybody that's still around kind of grabs a hold of each other more tightly.
They do. Nobody gets out of this life alive, unfortunately. So it becomes a case that, and especially I guess the older you get, you start to realize that things, winning races are important, setting records are important, but friendships mean a whole lot more than that. We've got Tom as our Headman Award, our High Performer Award this month in this issue also. And he was just a really great guy. He would call me up and he truthfully would care about what you were doing. He wanted to know what you were doing. How are you doing? Do you need anything? And I used to think to myself, and I never talked to a lot of other people about what he'd say to me, but I think to myself, geez, he really cares about me. Who am I? I'm just some local guy racer. I don't know. I'm a nobody, so to speak, but he really cared about you. And then to hear everybody else telling the stories that's what he did for everybody else. That's the kind of guy he was. He was just a guy who always cared. I think it was, who was his crew chief?
Pat Galvin.
Crew chief. Galvin. I think Pat Galvin made the comment that, everybody called him Mother Goose because he took care of everybody. And that's just the kind of guy he was. Really great guy.
Yeah, I'm having, as these things happen, I have occasional regret because we had talked about having him on the show and it didn't work out just because of timing and schedule. You get into a rut and you don't reach out, and epic fail by me. Spoke with him at the races though, and got positive feedback. Nice man. Just really wish I had, gone to the lengths to get him on. But at the same time, Johnny D, I wonder, do you encounter this? With the legends, they're being pulled in so many different directions all the time by so many people. Like, there are times where I want to let people have peace. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But you know what? I'm sure they relish the fact of being pulled in all those different directions. I think that if you talk to a lot of them, they'd say the same thing, that, they don't want to be forgotten. And when you're pulled in all these different directions, you're not forgotten. People want you. So it's a two-edged sword, I guess. Sometimes I think people just want to be left alone. leave me alone, don't bother me, don't call me. But I think most of the time, people want to be called. They want to be talked to. They want to know that they got friends. And I don't know if that even makes any sense.
Yeah, it's a challenging time, and we have, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen to us. I mean, let's face it. But like you said, nobody's getting out of here alive, but it does force you to think about all of these issues. And great that you have an interview with Roland and, of course, Goose in the magazine. But also, tech stuff. We're always encouraging our audience to go on and subscribe by going to dragracingedge.com. Because, first of all, it's a beautiful magazine, and there's all kinds of great stuff. There's WFO ads in there, like as if you need those because you're already listening. But the tech side of things, you guys dove into the valve train this time around. Pretty important area of any high-performance engine, the valve train.
It really was. And the reason we did that story is because I happen to be doing a motor in a shop, and I realized that I didn't have the lift. When we checked the lift with race springs on it, I didn't have the lift that I should have had according to the cam specs and stuff. And I got to thinking, there's a lot more to valve train flex than just, what we see. And when I started measuring things a little bit more, we saw just how much the valves, everything flexes. The rocker arms flex, the push rod flexes, a lot of flex and push rods, and really, over the years we've gone to bigger and bigger push rods because of this. The only thing that we learned though is that when you swap out, let's say you have a combination that's going whatever it goes, and it's running well. Now all of a sudden you change the push rods to a thicker brand or a thicker model. Now you got more lift. Now you've changed the whole combination of the engine. In the story, we talk about the fact of some people have changed push rods to bigger push rods where it's changed the lift, and they've run it on the dyno, and all of a sudden the motor is making the power that it used to make. So it was a pretty interesting story to research. To me, that area, first of all, the high-performance internal combustion engine, there are a lot of things in the world that are amazing. How does, and I don't want to compare it to SpaceX landing rockets back on moving floating pads in the water, all right? And, in the end, there are different levels of amazement, but the fact that one of these engines is timed so perfectly, 8, 9, 10,000 RPMs, and they hold together and they make the power, and just the chaos that is a valve opening and closing so rapidly, it just doesn't make sense that something can open and close, hundreds of times in just a few seconds. Like, how is that possible? It is amazing. I mean, when you sit and think about, like you said, 8, 9, 10, I mean, we're even at 11,000 RPM, some of these engines. And to think that what's happening at 11,000 RPM, this piston is going up and down that fast, the valve is opening, the cam's spinning. It's pretty amazing. It really is. It really is. It's an amazing thing. And, I remember sitting at the Gator Nationals years ago, 1980-something, and they had a cutaway engine. And my dad trying to explain to me, like, this does this, and this pushes this, and this turns this, and the whole inner workings of it. And while this is happening over here, this is happening at a different... And just amazing from the very beginning, like a Swiss watch. It is. I mean, I don't know if you had one. I know I had one when I was a little kid, but... There's a model, and it was called the Invisible V8. I don't even know if they make them anymore. I think they do in the hobby store. I think you can get them. I've seen them. Do you really? Yeah, okay. I think so. Okay. And you built, it was a clear block and clear cylinder head and had the valves. And, and it amazed me when I was putting it together. I don't remember how old I was, but obviously younger than I am now. But, it was amazing to put all this stuff together and then to eventually grow up and build a real motor. And the amazement, again, we use that word amazement a lot, but I mean, that's what it is. We're amazed that, holy cow, this thing really moves like this. This is unbelievable.
It really does. It really does. And making the power that they make. Drag Racing Edge magazine, new edition on available now. Subscribe. Drag Racing Edge magazine. Shane Westerfield on the cover. More coming this season. Of course, we're getting ready for the countdown. But I want to get your thoughts. There's one more thing in here. Wheels. High-performance wheels. That is another area. I've been staring at the wheels, Johnny D., thinking to myself, they are evolving. People, they need to be round, and they need to be able to hold up the weight of the car, and the car needs to move on them. Some people never replace their wheels, but they have improved and evolved a lot over the past couple of years. You guys cover it.
Yep, they've made a lot of improvements. I mean, we made a trip out to Weld Wheels in Kansas City to see just how they make a wheel, and it was it's amazing. It always got me. When my son was in high school and he was taking his driver's ed courses, he came home one day and he said, the teacher wants us to do a report on tires. And I thought to myself, they're round and black. What do you do a report on? But, there are a whole lot of things different in tires. Well, I asked the same question about wheels. They're round and shiny sometimes. What's so big about them? What's so different? There's a lot of things different. They're constantly, the Weld Wheel facility out there is it's pretty amazing on how they build wheels, how they engineer them. And we're seeing these new wheels, especially in the Weld Wheel stuff. We're seeing the new Alpha and the Delta wheels, which are on pro stocks and top fuel cars and whatnot, pro mods. It's just amazing the difference. And even they said it too, that every time they make a change with the wheel, it's a combination. Everything's a combination. That when they first made changes to their Delta wheel, they changed where the weight was distributed along the aluminum in the wheel itself. And it made a big difference in how the car reacted. Now, all of a sudden, crew guys had to change clutch setups and so on and so forth. And until everybody got a handle on it, it wasn't coming around. But now everybody's got a handle on it. I mean, look at how fast we're going with these cars now.
Yeah, very, very impressive. And one of the reasons I think everybody should be getting the Drag Racing Edge magazine is because you guys tackle interesting storylines like pirated performance counterfeiters are profiting from robbing racing technology, something that, if you asked me, is probably in the back of my mind. But you guys delve into an area, so if I'm buying a set of seatbelts online and they're a great deal, used once or twice or something, it might not be the real deal. How about that?
Oh, that's a big problem in this industry. It really is, and we're not even talking about when we talk about pirated stuff. We're talking about stuff that is coming through and looks. And may even have the same logos on it as some of the manufacturers, MSD, Aeromotive, and whatnot. But there's knockoff products also. That's different. But the pirated, the rip-off stuff, that's a big problem in the industry, because you buy as we mentioned in the story, you buy an Aeromotive fuel regulator, and it says Aeromotive on it. You don't think twice about it, but it's not the right product. It's not an Aeromotive product. So that's really big. And Aeromotive even has been very big into it. Steve Matusik, who owns Aeromotive, I mean, he's been a real, I don't want to say pirate, but he's piloted a lot of things and spoken with the FBI and whatnot and to try to get this stuff corrected. But the problem in the industry is it's not as big as Nike, let's say, knockoff Nikes or whatnot. I mean, there's millions of dollars. Our industry is nowhere near that big, so sometimes it doesn't get the looks and it doesn't get the legislation that it deserves.
Right.
But that's just the way life is.
There's not enough manpower for enforcement, is what it is.
Nope.
And that's the thing. But the problem is that's why I appreciate you guys tackling it. The problem is that if it's a safety piece that someone's life hangs in the balance, how was this thing made? Where was it made? What's it made of? Who made it? It's got a label on it, and an unsuspecting racer is putting it in his car expecting a standard and not getting that standard. I think it is good that you guys, and Peter Biondo is quoted in the story, just, reputable dealers. That's the way to go when you see something, on Facebook, no offense, but you don't know. And that is interesting, an interesting angle. I appreciate it. I recommend everybody go out and get the most recent edition, Drag Racing Edge magazine. Johnny D, great job. But since you're here, let's talk a couple of things. I know you wanted to talk about the Mountain Motor Pro Stocks in Indy. And so I'm going to just kind of let you, tell me what you think. What did you think?
Well, I think that something needs to be done with the Pro Stock class in itself. It's not dying. That's far from the case. But it lacks the luster, I think, that it had back in the Bill Jenkins, Bob Glidden days, which is interesting because we had the Bob Glidden tribute thing at Indy. But in any event, I think something needs to be done with the class. 2 years ago, when they changed the rules from they added EFI and shortened the wheelie bars and removed the hood scoops, to me personally, and I've said this to NHRA, so it's no big secret, but I don't think that they really addressed the real problem in the class. And the problem in the class is the expense. It's gotten out of hand, and I have no idea how you can even control that. So they decided, and this is one of the biggest things why the Mountain Motor Pro Stock cars were at Indy, is that there was talk, well, can we bring the Mountain Motor Pro Stock cars in and combine them with our present Pro Stock cars? Well, first of all, they're two totally different cars. So they sat around, I guess, NHRA has said this to us, that, we sat around the boardroom or whatnot, and we thought, well, we think they can go this fast, or we've seen them go this fast, so on and so forth. But typically those guys only run eighth mile. So a lot of those drivers and a lot of those cars have never went the full distance, quarter mile. So now they bring them into Indy, into their racetrack, on their track prep, under their weather conditions, so to speak, and they ran them, and they got real data on how fast those cars can go. And basically, they're about 2.5 tenths quicker than our present NHRA cars. Now, the biggest problem is, how do you combine the two classes? To me, I think it's going to be a gargantuan task to even try to do that. We have a whole story on our website about it, dragracingedge.com, about the Pro Stock, about the Mountain Motor cars at Indy. I spent a lot of time with a lot of those guys, and I spent a lot of time with NHRA talking over this. And I don't know how they could ever get parity in the class. You just got two totally different types of cars.
Yeah.
You got one car that's, right, Mountain Motor motors, big motors versus 500-inch motors. You got clutch combinations that are different. You got hood scoops. You got EFI. You got carburetors. I don't know how it could ever be done. I really don't. But the NHRA is really on top of this, and I think that they want to get this done. They want to, I say fix the class, but they want to bring they want to bring us back to what Pro Stock was.
Yeah, it's this conversation for me, I could do this all day. We could do a whole separate show on it. Being out there and hearing a lot of stuff and understanding what they're trying to accomplish makes me want to help and fight hard and be open-minded and all of that, because that is my general attitude. I'm a glass is half full kind of guy, and whatever needs to be done, the challenge, I'm there to help. That having been said, I agree with you, and I don't know. This is going to be one that when it works out, I'm going to be very impressed. Like, wow, they got this thing to work out, because number one, and this is my thing, and this is no disrespect to anybody, okay? But I was underwhelmed by the Mountain Motor Pro Stocks. I was underwhelmed, and maybe it's because I have a bias to NHRA 500 cubic inch Pro Stock and always have. Was never into Mountain Motor Pro Stock way back in the day. I just don't think they're as impressive for what they are. You basically take a small block Chevrolet and sit it on top of 500 cubic inch Pro Stock engine, and you're only gaining 2.5 tenths. That's not enough. They're low RPM. They're not high RPM screamers. I want to hear high RPM, man. I want to hear something amazing. I always loved Pro Stock because to me it was the drag racing equal to what happens in Formula One. You know, the ragged edge of valve train technology. Like, how is it happening? And the Mountain Motor Pro Stocks, I don't know. I don't feel like they're there. Now, I had a conversation with a known Pro Stock racer, who I will allow to remain nameless for this, but he said, this is going to cost everybody a lot of money because every 500 cubic inch team with the budget is going to have to test the Mountain Motor stuff. Why would they not put together a Mountain Motor combination and see if they can do all the little tricks that they do to the 500 cubic inch stuff and, go, stem to stern, evolving everything and take that Mountain Motor combination instead of 630, make it run 615. And then, where are we at? I don't know. I don't know.
That's probably the biggest problem in this sport to begin with, is the expense of it. But how do you tell a guy that he can't spend the money on something? The Mountain Motor teams are a pretty close-knit group. They all have kind of got this little gentleman's agreement that they're not going to spend big money on stuff because most of them are, I say, hobbyists, part-time racers. I don't know what you want to call them. They're just a low-down group of guys, okay? Great group of people. Obviously have some money because those cars are not exactly cheap. But generally speaking, there aren't big sponsors involved, so there really isn't a whole lot of money. But the problem still comes down to, how do you control costs? And you're right. What's going to happen is that if the parity is not perfect, you're going to have a 500 cubic inch team going, you know what? We need to build one of these things. And I'm going to tell you that I almost guarantee, and I think the Mountain Motor guys will agree with me too, is that if you were to take the type of technology that's in 500 cubic inches today and bring it over to the Mountain Motor stuff, you're right. They're going to be going a lot faster than what they're going now. It's going to happen, but it takes money to do that. And I don't know how. Believe me, I'm glad I'm not on NHRA's deal because I don't know how they're going to ever cure this. I really don't.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what we're going to witness. In the NFL, they put in a salary cap. They realize this is getting out of control. In the NBA, and there's a structure of salaries. You can't pay a rookie X amount. You're restricted. How we could do that in drag racing, I don't think it's possible because there are too many entities. The bureaucracy to just regulate it would be impossible to do. This is motorsports. Jason Line always says, and he said it on the show, it's not sportsman stock. It's pro stock, as in professional stock, which means in its name, it's not for everybody. This is a professional category. And if you can't hang, you can't hang. There are top sportsman cars that run faster than those Mountain Motor Pro stocks. Why can't we let them in? Well, because then that's pro mod. I don't know. I feel unmoored by the whole thing. But I also understand that people are not interested in all Camaros running in pro stock. And so, what do we do? Something must be done.
Something has to be done. What do we do? The other question I ask is that, are we here to put on a show or are we here to race cars? To me, I think we should be worried about putting on a show. And as far as putting on a show, I think the Pro Mod cars do a fantastic job of putting on a show. Take the Gassers last week at Indy. All right? When the Gassers ran, and you could hear this, they do 300-foot burnouts. And when they stop, the crowd goes crazy. You heard the grandstand clapping and yelling and screaming. That's a show. So, I don't know. We're walking a fine line, I think, between putting on a show and being a sanctioning body.
Yeah,
and
competition.
Yeah, okay. So I don't.
It's tough.
I'm glad I'm not in their shoes.
No, I agree, Johnny D. It's a tough conversation, and at the end, maybe the answers that we're going to get are not the answers that we want to get, and that's why we just got to let. And this is why the NHRA, rules makers are a little lonely. These are lonely people because this is tough. Whatever the decision they're going to make, it's going to be disliked by most until it proves to be right, and then it'll be right, and people will like it, and they won't get credit for making the decision. It's a challenging situation. What would I have done? I don't know. I feel that the word stock is important. And there's nothing stock about a Mountain Motor Pro Stock car. There's nothing stock about a 500 cubic inch Pro Stock car.
No, right. There isn't. I mean, there isn't, we have a story going in our next issue, which is coming out in November, mid-October, beginning of November, on the state of the sport. And the truth of the matter is, some people might not like what we're about to say, but it's the truth, and it has to be said. There is nothing stock about a Pro Stock car, be it a mountain motor car or a 500-inch car, okay? There isn't. There is no way, back in the day, okay, back when Pro Stock started, you could look at the Camaro, until Bill Jenkins came in with that Vega, you could look at the Camaros and the Mustangs and so on and so forth, and if you're a fan sitting in the stands, you could, wow, I really like that car. You could go to a dealer showroom on Monday and buy a Camaro or a Mustang. You're not going to buy a Pro Stock car these days. However, think about this one, factory stock. Think about those cars. You can buy one of those cars. I like the factory stock cars. However, I don't think that they're how can we use the word? I don't think that they're pro-stockable. I don't think that they should replace pro stock. Not at all. I think that factory stock needs to remain just what it is.
Interesting. The whole thing, it's all very philosophical. I love the factory stock cars as well. Samtec cars are great and unbelievable, but they are, to me, closer to the Pro Mod and Top Fuel cars, meaning they have more power than they can use. So the exercise is power management and getting the car down the racetrack, whereas Pro Stock is it supposed to be the total ragged edge refinement to efficiently use every single quarter horsepower that you make? That's what Pro Stock is right now. Naturally aspirated versus boosted. Does that matter? Do people care about that? To me, we did lose our way. There was someone, so I think it was Brian Loans who said that it really all went off the rails when they approved Grumpy's Vega. Like, big mistake. Like, what's with this full chassis car? That's where the mistake was made. We got off the rails because now that's really just some sort of a left-hand steer funny car, with a body attached to this pipe chassis for the very first time. Yes. That's where we got sideways.
Well,
in 1970.
About it, we get sideways all the time because anytime a team says, we need this new cylinder head, so we're going to go to NHRA and we're going to get this new cylinder head approved. Now NHRA says, yeah, no problem. That's approved. The next guy comes up and he needs a new valve approved. They approved that. We can't keep approving this stuff. At some point, you got to say, no, stop. It's like factory stock. To me, factory stock needs to remain stock. They need to remain on a 9-inch tire. That has to be, because anytime you start giving them a bigger tire now, it changes the whole dynamic of the class. And now all of a sudden they're going to start buying titanium this and carbon fiber that, and it gets out of control.
No, agree. But at the same time, stifling evolution is what you're talking about. You're talking about locking down development and evolution, which where else in life, in the world, on Earth, is that a good thing? It's not. Like, everybody talks about how competition improves the breed, and we're not trying to improve the breed anymore. We're just racing with what we got and locking it down because it's affordable. It's not as if the cost of this stuff is going down because it's not developing. It's not like, hey, we've been using the same block for the past 5 years. We're going to make it half price so more people can do it. Like maybe if that's what they do, you go to the engine builders and you say, all right, here's the deal. We're going to lock it down. And next year you got to charge 75% of what you charged this year. And then the following year you got to charge 50% of what you charged that year to make it affordable for more people. But that's not what happens in drag racing. Things, even if it's old technology, it's still very expensive to the average person.
It is. It's getting worse. And that's why I'm glad I'm not the person that has to make the rules because, as you said before, I mean, any rule they make, somebody's not. You're going to get if there's 10 people involved, 5 people aren't going to like it, and 5 people are going to like it. So it's tough. You can't appease everybody. The racetrack I live next door to, Beaver Springs Dragway, for the longest time. I don't even know if it's still in there, but in the tower there was a sign, and it was penned by the owner of the track, Beaver Bob McCardle, and what it said was, I don't know what the secret to success is, but I know that the secret to failure is to try to please all the people all the time. You're not going to be able to do that. You're just not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's why they have a name, the keyboard crew chiefs out there who all have an answer, except are unable to put themselves in the position of the rules makers, right? They are easy to throw out their opinions on everything, but never consider the 10 or 12 things that are just beneath the surface that might be holding up their grand idea. And, it's a great challenge. That's why I hold back. Once upon a time, strong opinions. This is a bad idea. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a bad idea. Maybe it's the best choice of a bunch of bad ideas, which is what we might be dealing with here. What do we... A lot of people think that pro stock, let's face it, this is horrible what I'm about to say. I don't want this to be true, but a lot of people would stand up right to my face and tell me it's true. Ready? Nobody cares about pro stock. It's about Nitro. The only thing that really puts people in the seats is Nitro. That's it. Why do people go to an NHRA race? To see 300 mile per hour Nitro cars. Everything else is just like a seasoning on the side. In the end, no Nitro, no show. That's what people will say. And you know what? I'm a car guy. I could go to a Saturday night bracket race and have a great time looking at cars, just going down the track. But to put 30,000 feet people in the grandstands, maybe they're right, Johnny D. Maybe they're right.
Oh, I think to a point they are right. I mean, we see it at every national event we go to. Top Fuel runs, funny car runs, and the stands, you'd have thought that we were calling for Hurricane Florence to come through. They just abandon the stands. They really do. But it was never like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe 30, 40 years ago, when Pro Stock started, I mean, people loved it. And you got certain parts of the country, here in the Northeast section here, man, Pro Stock was everything. Everybody loved
me
Pro
too.
Stock.
Well, think of the cars you had. But another thing, like there's a whole many things. Like they could do reports on this. There's so many elements converging on this. Under General Motors, you had Chevrolet, Pontiac, which Pontiac was a performance brand. You had some Buicks. You had Oldsmobiles. So within the General Motors family, you had all kinds of inter-family rivalries. And as a Pontiac guy, I looked down on Chevrolet people because their stuff was like, not as nice as the Pontiac stuff. And now we do not have that. You only have Chevrolet. That is it. This is the General Motors brand that will drag race and you will get if you are interested in any kind of performance. And Ford, of course, they had Glidden and Ricky Smith and a couple of others, but not too many others. Chrysler, we had the Dodge Boys and Sox and Martin way back in the day, but they were in and out. And so you take all those General Motors brands, you eliminate them going way back, and you put Butch Leal and Warren Johnson in the same Chevrolet Camaro that Bruce Allen was running. It might have been less interesting back then, too. We had so many more choices.
Yep. We did. So here's the question then. Where do we go from here? We've been going to national events for, a long time, okay? And the truth of the matter is each one just blends into the other. They all look the same. I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of big changes in national event competition for I don't know how long time. Where do we go from here? How do we make it better?
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's one area where I can tell you that, being on the NHRA track announcing team, I'm privy to lots of stuff. I'll give you an example. This year we had Mickey Thompson Top Fuel Harley Davidson. We've added that. Their championship ended at the U.S. Nationals, went right down. Now, you and I are probably not motorcycle guys. We're car guys. Motorcycle guys are motorcycles. But that's something that they've added. That has been new and exciting and fresh, and it went down to the final race. The Pro Mod cars, with their partial season, an addition. Although they are going the way of Pro Stock very, very rapidly. Camaro's taken over that category. It's like Camaro's, man. Camaro. Ban the Camaro. There, you want to do something? It's like 2/3 of the cars at the track would have to stay home if you ban the Camaro. It is a great challenge. And I don't know what the answer is. My thought is, though, this is what I want to see, and we'll end off like this. Honestly, this is what I'm tired of. Ready? I'm tired of rules. Back in the day, the golden era, you didn't know what was going to show up because the rules were very, very limited. Safety rules, you had to have a couple of safety things. But as far as development, they were allowed to develop in hundreds of different areas, whether it be wheels and tires or wings or aero or engine or style of engine or even fuel for a while. There was no specs. And in all forms of motorsport, from IndyCar to Formula One to drag racing, for the past 20 years, all we have done is narrow and restrain and define and focus all the development from everywhere into tiny little areas. And people have always used their money wherever they can. And maybe the answer is to have some sort of unlimited class where there's no restrictions. Whatever it is, man. Whatever it is. Isn't that kind of Radio versus the World? Whatever it is, you bring it up, and you might have spent $150,000 in your engine, and this guy might have spent $70,000 on the aerodynamics he's using, and this other guy might have spent $80,000 on something totally different that we don't fully understand, but he's developing in a different area. And what would that look like for 5 years? Maybe that's the answer, to stop regulating only in the area of safety and let people be creative for the first time in many, many years. What would that look like?
The only problem that I could foresee with that is the expense of it. It's just going to get out of hand. And maybe what you're saying is true. But like I said, the expense of it will definitely get out of hand, because if you have no rules, John Force is going to spend, if he has to spend $1 million to build a new engine block, he'll spend $1 million. If Connie Coletta decides that he can find $1 million to build his own thing, boy, I don't know.
But if it doesn't work, though?
I like it.
What if they don't?
I like it.
It doesn't work.
Like it.
We have decided at John Force Racing to invent this new, 5-cylinder vertical crank engine. Oh, it didn't work. We just invested all that money on nothing. It's terrible.
I agree. I like the idea of no rules. I think we put too many rules in place. And maybe a lot of that stems from insurance companies and lawyers, but I think we have way too many rules in place. Every time we make a rule, it means that I got to look at this rule and I got to interpret it a little bit more. And if I could find a little loophole, then I find a little loophole. Well, finding those loopholes costs money.
That's it.
I like the idea. No rule. Yeah. You're right. Radio versus the world class. Look at that.
Right, but it's a very narrow category, and from what I understand, that those cars cost more than
they do.
Those are like some of the most expensive drag racing cars on the planet, and so maybe I'm going against it. In the end, though, like the idea that racing, it's like, how do we, Johnny D and me, Joe Castello, get involved in Triple Crown thoroughbred racing? Like, how do we do it, John? Like, and the answer is you don't, because you don't have what it takes, because this is not the sport for us. And auto racing is in the same neighborhood. It's expensive. It's always been expensive. The average citizen bounces a basketball because a basketball is $15. Racing has always been a great challenge just to get to the track. When I started, it was $20 to race Sportsman in my truck, $10 for my dad to get in, $30 investment. I could go race with 85 gasoline. Now, to run street, you're probably going to spend $35 plus to get there, plus $15 to get in. Like, the whole expense is like $100, man. It takes a lot of people. Most people don't make $100 in a day.
It has. It's. I don't know what the answer is. Like I said, I'm glad that I don't have to make rules.
Well,
like
I think the answer is we just
enjoy
it.
Think about where is drag racing going to be in 30, 40 years?
Well, it's going to be you're talking about that. Elon Musk with Tesla was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day, and they're spending a lot of time talking about futurism, and all of that stuff. It sounds like that. The electrification of vehicles, whether we like it or not like it, is going to be a very, very rapid transition over the next 10 years. Not only that, but the autonomous driving is coming very rapidly as a way of diminishing traffic. We can't build more roads because there's no space and there's no money.
Yeah.
So let's change the vehicles and run the cars the way we run planes through the sky. And, they're all close together. They're running at high rates of speed. They're not putting on their makeup. They're not typing while they're at the wheel. And they, they're more efficient. And that's what's going to happen. So where does the drag racer end up in there? When you were starting out, and this is maybe a sad thing, when you were drag racing in the golden era, John, did anybody show up with like a Model T, like with an original Model T style engine?
No, absolutely.
Why not? Because those cars were primitive and lame, man. And maybe the the future thing, like maybe there should be an electric category. Maybe there should be you can take a Tesla and run it in Comp Eliminator and program it with your iPhone and like who the heck knows. But I think creativity is necessary. We got to open the mind of the automobile person.
We do.
Yeah.
But, the only thing about the Teslas and the electric cars, and lately I'm seeing commercials just for electric cars, generic electric car commercials, not any one manufacturer, which I'm really not crazy about. But in any event, we're starting to get away from the kids, the new generation of kids. We need first generation kids coming into the sport. We don't have that. We just don't have that these days. And I think that's a big question that needs to be answered. How do we get first-generation kids? You're a second-generation racer. I'm a first-generation. My kids are second-generation. We're seeing second and thirds coming in, but we're not seeing firsts.
And it goes back to the original point, which is how on earth is a 22 to 25-year-old boy, let's call him what it is, maybe he's fresh out of the military serving his country. Of course, he's a man, but, I don't consider myself fully mature till I was like 26, 27 years old. Everybody's different. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be able to invest $20,000 on a race car, $35,000 on a dually to pull it, another 10 grand on an enclosed trailer. Where are you going to keep it? Insure the whole deal, fuel the whole deal. No way. That doesn't happen. It's not possible. That's our problem, is that this is
But see, what's happening is that these first-generation kids, potential first-generation kids, are showing up at the races, and they're seeing the $20,000 motorhome or the $100,000 motorhome, the $50,000 trip. They're seeing all this stuff, and they're being overwhelmed. But yet there are places where these kids can get into the sport very cheaply. Look at your local Friday night, your Saturday night, your Sunday afternoons. Okay, they can get into this very easily. But I don't think we're spending enough time educating them that they can do this. Like I said, they show up at you take a 20 to 25-year-old kid who shows up. My neighbor is 17 years old. He wants to come to Reading this weekend. Never been to a drag race, never been to a big drag race before. He wants to come this weekend and see the Nitro cars. I can guarantee what's going to happen. He's going to show up there and he's going to be overwhelmed and think, "Wow, you got to have this $200,000 motorhome. You got to have this $100,000 stacker." No, you don't. And so I think that's a problem. I think we need to somehow educate or try to educate our kids into excuse me, into getting them to go to local races where you can get started. I mean, I didn't start out going to national events. I started out going to Island Dragway on a Saturday night in Englishtown on a Sunday afternoon.
Right. And that's
we all started out. Yeah.
And it's
right?
not, and there it is. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be for everyone. It's the NHRA national event level is the drag racing equivalent to IndyCar, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, Formula One. It is the pinnacle. It is the Major League Baseball. It is the NFL. It's not kids playing in a field or a sandlot team, which is what the Miami Hollywood Dragway, me racing my sportsman truck was. And I guess maybe we need to define that. And if you want to be a part of it, you will figure out how to do it. Look at Scott Palmer. He's in the magazine this month.
Yeah.
Scott Palmer.
Oh, yeah.
He was a car paint and body guy, and he's figuring it out, and he's got Cat Spot on board, and he's figuring it out. But
you are.
It's
amazing. I sat in the tower a long time ago. This is when Virginia had their national events in previous years. I sat in the tower, and we were looking at all the people in the stands, and one of the manufacturers, one of the owners of a manufacturing company who I was sitting talking with, he said to me, I wonder how many of those people that are out in the stands can understand that they could be out here racing on the same race track that John Force is racing on right now. But they can also be just racing, period. Somehow I think we need to educate our fans that, listen, this is racing. This is really cool. There's nothing, my car's faster than yours. That's what this is all about.
Right. But if I don't like that, the only way I can fix that is to go spend some money. and then you're going to retaliate. Here, let me leave you with this final thing. Randy Lynn and Bo Butner, they have been delving in, and maybe I submit this as a potential story for one of your next editions, but they have been doing something like daily driver races. Okay, and they'll rent the track and they'll put up a purse, but the rule is that it's not for race cars. This is for daily drivers, for just cars, street cars, Toyota Camrys, Camaros, Mustangs, daily drivers, whatever it is. And the whole lesson of it all is that you spend nothing extra. You show up in your daily driver. You do no extra work. You show up in your daily driver. You pay an entry and you race your daily driver. And whatever it runs, it's not about that. It's about that you're a racer all of a sudden in your daily driver in this setting. And to me, that's appealing, and I like what they're doing with that because I can do nothing and still be a racer. And that, to me, is the best way to hook people in.
It is. And I think that, IHRA had a class. It was called TCR, Teen Championship Racing. And NHRA has kind of adopted it, and I don't know what they call it in NHRA. But here's a class where kids at 13 years old can drive a big car, a regular car. Can't be a race car, a regular car, and they can race it out on the track. Now, a parent or a licensed driver needs to be in a seat with them, but these kids can drive big cars. They're not driving, a lot of these kids sometimes, and we're getting into a long
yeah, man, we've been going
here,
an hour. Me and Johnny D. This is going to be its own show.
A lot of these kids, sometimes, they get the junior dragsters, and the junior dragsters have gotten totally out of hand too. But now all of a sudden, you got a class where all it takes is a regular car. You drive it in on the street and you race it. You race at 8th mile. There's a limit to how fast they can go, but it cannot be a race car. It has to be a street car. And to me, that's a great class. It really is.
Yeah, very interesting discussion. Johnny D., I appreciate it. We started out to do 10 minutes and we'd end up going an hour, and that's good. That's good. This is a wide, free-flowing stream of consciousness kind of conversation. And all you listeners out there who are able to hang with us, this is what Drag Racing Edge magazine is all about. Johnny D. is the editor, and Brett gets it published, and it's just great stuff. They put ads for WFO in the magazine to try to get some of their people to check out our podcast, and we greatly appreciate it. So go out there and subscribe to Drag Racing Edge magazine. Go to dragracingedge.com. And, I am optimistic, and I know you're optimistic. And even if you weren't optimistic, we're still having a great time with whatever it is. It's just we care so much that we can't help but think about the future and whether or not this thing is going to grow, it's going to become bigger, how can more people enjoy it? I think that's the genesis of what we're talking about.
Definitely, without a doubt. I mean, we all have a passion for the sport, and it's our passion that we don't want to see it die.
That's it. And the guy, Mark Malmstead from Dodge, came on the show a couple weeks ago, and he said, according to their metrics and their feeling at FCA, drag racing has never been more popular. And they're making cars like the 1320 that people are designed to buy because they got a drag racing hobby they want to pursue. I think that is fantastic and it is great. At the same time, we have to monitor cost, expense, certain categories. Maybe certain categories are done. There are things. Tyrannosaurus Rex, man, it was the biggest, baddest thing on the planet, and then it went away.
Yep, absolutely.
So who knows? Johnny D, thank you very much. I'll see you out there at the Grove. I'm counting on sunshine for you. Thanks to you.
We hope so. Thank you very much. Great having you. We're great talking with you.
John DiBartolomeo with us here on WFO Radio. Wow, I know it went a little long. We had a conversation. We're getting into it. We're thinking. We're talking. We're discussing. That was my time. Because you heard some of my opinions. Very often I don't say anything. I don't give you my opinions all the time. That's for Ignition, and it's for my time, and it's for Patreon. The rest of the show, the drivers and crew chiefs and personalities are the stars. I'm just kind of linking them all together because it's not about me on this show. This show is not about me. But I have thoughts and opinions about all kinds of stuff. And when we get involved in a conversation about something like Pro Stock, they come out. What's going to happen with the category? I'm not saying I have the solution. It's a great challenge. This is a great challenge. I love the naturally aspirated engine builder clutch driver category with races that are decided by thousandths of a second. If only there were some Ford-powered Mustangs and some Chrysler-powered whatevers. Exactly as it is, people would love it. It's just that it's all Camaros, and there's no Ford or Chrysler fans that are interested because their category, there's none of their cars. Kind of makes sense. When was the last time you went and saw a Honda import drag race? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But if you're not a fan of Hondas, you probably didn't go. Well, if you're not a fan of Chevy Camaros, you're probably not into Pro Stock. It's a great challenge. But hey, good conversation with Johnny D. And about Sam Tech and about the kids. I've told you many times in the past, the Homestead gig I do, I'm exposed to several hundred, first rung of the ladder racers, brand new, test and tune racers. And they love it. They love it, but they got nowhere to grow. That's their problem. There's nowhere to grow. It's just about running your street car up and down the track and having a little bit of fun. But this sport is tremendous, and that's why we're putting so much effort into it, all of us. You as the listener, me as this podcast host, when I do the track announcing thing with the NHRA, all of us, when I work on my bracket car. The sport of drag racing is wonderful for so many reasons. The quality of the people that are involved, the go-getter nature, the motivation, the willingness to help one another, even if they are rivals. All the character of the people that are involved in this sport is tremendous. When it comes to sporting, and solving problems and challenges. So we gotta, we're going good. We gotta keep it going. That is the point. And I'm not pessimistic. I'm optimistic about the sport of NHRA drag racing and drag racing in general. And Johnny D and I going down that road. All right, that's going to do it. Big thanks to Matt Smith and Stevie Fast and Antron Brown and Rick Jones and Matt Hagan. And, of course, Alan Reinhart. The playoffs are this weekend, baby. This weekend. the Dodge NHRA Nationals. Maple Grove, Pennsylvania. We'll have the winners next week.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.